Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 58. I'm Paul Shaughnessy, joined on the line by Cody Saftic, coming off the heels of UFC 276. Was it UFC 276 last week? I believe that was the number. Yeah, that was the number. Sean Strickland. I mean, you should have taken that bet, Cody.
I should have. Oh, well. What a coulda, shoulda.
Well, what was he thinking? Why? You're taking on Alex Pereira. Let's just stand there, upright, hands low, and try to kickbox with this guy. He never even shot a takedown in 2.5 minutes. Never even tried to force him up against the cage in 2.5 minutes. It was bad, Cody. You didn't take the bet, but I got a Mott's Clamato.
Mott's Clamato.
Blood red, like my bankroll after getting swept off the board last week. Absolutely nasty. I also took a shoey bet on Barberena versus Lawler with an account named CJ, the big C _3.
It's not my burner, I swear.
He kind of showed up after Barberena had won. We never really formalized it. I'm just going to set the record for now that I'm not taking random shoey bets on unless you're a well-established account, that type of thing. Cuz this is I felt the entire time I'm this guy could straight up just be free rolling me. He's only tweeted 3 or 4 times. Could be anybody, really. So I got to draw the line with who I'm taking shoey bets with. I was going to do one for you. Obviously, mentioned the big C. Barberena comes through round 2, gets the finish. Still got Lawler over his 73.5 Prize Picks significant strikes. Prize Picks went great for me last week, but
Prize Picks was fire, man. That was a lot of fun, and things happened to fall in our favor. Ian Gary got to punch on a punching bag for 15 full minutes. Of course, he's going to get over 70 significant strikes. It was honestly a lot of fun for our first time out. So for the people that took advantage of the situation, signed up last week, we thank you, but also you were rewarded for that. So we'll talk about Prize Picks again this week, see if we can shake things up a little bit. And don't feel bad about a Mott's Clamato shoe, which sounds absolutely
It may not be a good idea. Kids, do not try this at home. And there's one guy on Twitter who, when I said I was going to follow through and do one for Sean Strickland, embarrassing me and me being so aggressive about it. He's oh man, people don't really like the shoey. So in the comment section, tell us if you're Team Shoey. # Team Shoey. I imagine more people than just this one random account who says that people don't like the shoeys. I feel like people are still Team Shoey, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely out of the mix here.
You know what? The shoey's always in the first 5 minutes of the episode anyway, so you can just go to the timestamp and skip ahead to the first fight and go from there. So who cares? And if you want to see a human being drink a beer out of a shoe, which I don't see how anybody doesn't like that. Oh, let me go one step further. If you want to see a human being drink a Mott's Clamato.
That was actually really good. That actually was really good.
That's hilarious.
That was really good, actually.
Well, get you fired up, dude.
Much easier than beer. There's no carbonation. Those seltzers it's a rough one every single time. That was actually quite delightful.
Well, there's a lot of carbonation, right? At least that's just a nice little tomato and clam paste. Yeah, I don't know.
Tomato and clam.
You enjoyed it. I did feel some of your pain from last week, though, right? Because again, we hit the top ticket, we hit the top 2 tickets. We would have hit a 4-line banger if not for same culprit, Robbie Lawler. And my frustration, same as yours with Sean Strickland. This guy's got terrible takedown defense. He's been taken down multiple times in all of his fights against lower level guys, okay? So you win the first round, you allow him to punch himself out. Sure, it's a close round. He outstrikes you, but Robbie landed the better punches, fine. The second round, Robbie's winning the first 3.5 minutes of the round. Now there's 90 seconds left, and this guy starts coming on like a steam engine. He starts just windmilling his hands, like Bart Simpson in that episode when he's trying to eat the pie. If you get in the way, it's your own fault. Why not shoot the takedown? Why not wrestle him up against the cage? Why not take the momentum away? Nah, just going to sit here and take the punches for a minute and a half. And it's his demise. So the saying traditionally is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? In this case, it's like you can lead the fighter to the promised land, but you can't get him to shoot the takedown. Like, they're going to make their own game plans when they go in there. So you and I, him and Ha, this guy could win theoretically if he does this, this, and this. But again, when the cage door closes and they get punched in the head a few times, yeah, maybe they do it, maybe they don't. So yeah, I was glad to be on the Pereira side of things because at least we can all recognize that Sean Strickland is just a dumb-some bitch, right? I mean, he's just not exactly the smartest guy.
True.
So he stood in front of him. Robbie's 40 years old, publicly stated he didn't want to get into a war, and then went and did it anyways. So anyways, you got to recognize those little moments. And there's a couple guys in this card, I think for the same reason, I just can't have the faith in them. And because I can't have the faith in them, I'm weary where I go with it, right?
All right, well, like, the thing is, I want to bet a whole bunch of dogs this week, but I went, 0-6? I mean, if you count, like, the long props, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 0 for 8, but, like, some of those are, like, 22-1 bets and stuff. It was, like, really, like, an 0 and 5, really. Yeah. 0 and 6. 0 and 6. Let's go with 0 and 6. Either way, lost thousands of dollars. Somehow managed to, like, 12x my Prize Picks money, which is absurd when you consider how bad I was from a betting perspective this past week. But Pat, seems like you have something to say.
Yeah, Prize Picks Pat 1-0 on Prize Picks, so you won 5 times your money with the Pat Mayo Prize Picks play at the end of the show. Reminder, hit the description, go sign up, get your deposit bonus of up to $100. Use that code DOP. Show the support for Paul and Cody. We're going to get you some more Prize Picks money this week. I'm feeling it.
Thank you, Pat, for doing that, because I was supposed to do that, but I was so focused on the Clamato juice. Not even juice, Clamato drink. And I totally forgot. Yeah, promo code DOP. Get in on the action with Prize Picks Pat and Prize Picks Paul and Prize Picks Cody. All right, main event. We got Rafael Fiziev taking on Rafael dos Anjos. Minus 225 Fiziev, plus 190 for RDA. Who do you got in the battle of Rafaels, Cody?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, if you're talking about guys that you don't want to have a whole lot of confidence in the later stage of their careers, Rafael dos Anjos, feels like one of those guys, 37 years old, but the body's just got all types of mileage. But similar to a lot of these savvy veterans is that they're not above coming out and having a great performance in a fight. It's that can they continuously put a good run together. So, I mean, you look at him, he's won his last 2 fights. He beat Paul Felder, good but not great fight. And, of course, Paul Felder's was a decent enough fighter, so it's a credible victory. And then that last time against Renato Moicano, 5 rounds, absolute drubbing. You and I are heavy on him. I am very heavy on him anyways, and absolutely completely deteriorates Moicano. But there's things about that performance, right? I mean, the guy's taking the fight on short notice. He doesn't have the takedown defense. He doesn't have the grappling prowess. He's kind of one and done with the striking. Like a guy like RDA can pick a guy like that apart, right? So he looked great in that fight. And it looks like he's reinvigorated. And it looks like he's still a contender at this weight class. I just don't necessarily think he is. So how does this fight plays out with Rafael Fiziev? I think Fiziev's got the advantage with striking, right? I think he's got the better hands. He's got the better kicks. He's a little more elusive, right? Does a better job of covering up. The fact that it's 5 rounds, I think that plays towards Rafael dos Anjos. Mm-hmm. But with Fiziev, I think he's got enough cardio to hopefully secure himself 3 or 4 of the early rounds and then go into survival mode if need be. Takedown defense from Fiziev looks definitely on point. Physically very, very strong. Good hips. I think Rafael dos Anjos, good wrestling, but not elite level wrestling. And I don't know that he'd be able to just constantly pull him to the ground. And so if he gets stuck standing with them for a prolonged period of time, it should just be a kickboxing match. And if that's the case, got to go with Rafael Fiziev. So when you're looking at the odds, of course, it doesn't look great. Like you got minus 225 in Rafael Fiziev versus more of a proven commodity in Rafael dos Anjos, a guy that you've seen fight 5 rounds in the past, a guy that's cardio is pretty good, especially at this weight class. I just think it's a generational thing. I think the passing of the torch is occurring. Fiziev is a top contender. Everything about him looks good. The momentarily lapses that he had early in his UFC career he's put behind him. Takedown defense and grappling looks a lot better. He's putting it all together. And Rafael dos Anjos, a fine gatekeeper, but someone that the UFC is using his name and his former championship status to propel Fiziev potentially into a title fight. So give me Rafael over Rafael.
I'm actually leaning towards more of a dogger pass situation here. 1, because of the 5 rounds that you were talking about. And 2, it's like, I don't know, you go through, like, Fiziev's Muay Thai is absolutely brilliant, like beautiful. Very, very nice. Like his ability to his getting out of the way of kicks, like just by moving his head is like second to none. It's really, really cool to look at. But the volume's not always there. It's like you go to like the Brad Riddell fight, like that was super competitive until he finished him in the third round. Bobby Green out-volumed him 143 to 104. Fiziev still comes away with the victory in that spot. RDA's been very, very durable, and it seems like the people who really get the best of RDA tend to do it by being able to grapple him. I don't think that Rafael dos Anjos is able to in a situation where he's going to absolutely maul this guy from wrestling. But Fiziev hasn't taken on anybody with decent wrestling, really, if you go through his UFC record here. I just think it's the price is a little bit too wide, and it's continuing to grow. So it's like I feel like by the time we get to fight time, I'm going to probably end up with an RDA ticket at like plus 200 or above. Plus 190 it is right there out on the market right now. But I see the line moving. I think going to get a better price by the time we get to fight night. I also think that like 2.5 takedowns, I like it, but don't love it for RDA. Mix them in a little bit. 2.5, I can't see him getting much more than like 3 or 4, so it's only a slight edge. But on Prize Picks, that's the way I'm going about it. But yeah, for me, I think it's RDA. It's dog or pass. I just can't touch Fiziev at this price. Moving on down. Oh, what, you wanted to interrupt?
No. Go ahead. Move on down.
No, you breathed like you had you wanted to say something. You want to say something?
No, it's all good. I was just kind of going to agree. I think 2.5 makes a lot of sense on Prize Picks. Like, he's somebody that does like to go out and score takedowns. And last time out against Moicano, he got 5. His fight before that with Paul Felder, he got 6. But you see that there's a pattern in his fights. When he's taking on guys that can wrestle, he's getting 5 or 6.
Exactly,
when he takes on
that's it.
Michael Chiesa, he gets taken down 6 times. When he takes down Colby Covington or Kamaru Usman, 12 times, 10 times, like he gets taken down. So wrestling is always a part of his fights, whether he's the one doing it offensively or doing it defensively.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that Fiziev is going to roadblock him. But one intriguing point, I guess, makes it a decent enough proposition for RDA is if he goes out there and shoots 20 takedowns, even if 19 of them get stuffed, he's going to tire Fiziev out. And he's got the extra couple rounds. So even though I am taking Fiziev, the lucky thing for us here is this is the main event, so you can easily take that hedge out option. And it looks like a decent enough hedge out option considering there's some good plus money here on a proven commodity in Rafael dos Anjos.
Yes.
But I still got to go with Fiziev as the official pick.
Somewhere in the mix there. That's what I was trying to get to, is that like Rafael dos Anjos, when he has a wrestling advantage, gets a lot of takedowns. But that is the path to victory for people who have better wrestling than him, is that they take him down, they pressure him. That type of thing. I mean, RDA is basically just like a jack of all trades. Master of none, but like he's just excellent. He's good enough at everything that he can kind of exploit you in different things. I just think Rafael Fiziev's takedown defense hasn't really been tested enough. So yeah, the Prize Picks over 2.5 takedowns has my interest, and we'll see where we get on the money line as we get closer to fight night. But I'll wait until you drop your parlays, which will have Fiziev probably top ticket, so you can hedge on the way out, get that little bit of bump. And then I'll probably end up with some money on RDA. Moving on down, we got Caio Borralho taking on Cody's boy, Armen Petrosyan. Minus 200 Borralho, plus 170 Petrosyan. I only call him your boy because you had him against Gregory Rodriguez against me. How do you see this one shaking out? You were right about Petrosyan not being a complete scrub, and he scraped by against G-Rod. And G-Rod's, that's a good win. G-Rod's a legitimate contender. I'm pretty interested in this line because Caio, obviously he's looked pretty good as a prospect. He's very, very young in his development right now. But yeah, the number minus 200, like they're pricing him as like a legitimate threat here. So what's your take here, bud?
Yeah, well, this is the tough part, is that they're both my boys, Caio Borralho comes on the Contender Series. He fought Aaron Jeffries, and as soon as they announced the fight, I don't know who the hell the guy was, but I know exactly who Aaron Jeffries was, so I jump on the tape hard, and then it was like, oh, shit. Aaron Jeffries is in a lot of trouble here. So pick KO, and he goes out there and he's, legitimately skilled everywhere. Like you said with Rafael dos Anjos, he's a jack of all trades, a master of none. It's like Borralho. Is his striking elite? No, but it's pretty damn good. His wrestling's pretty damn good. His grappling's pretty damn good. Above all else, he calls himself the fight nerd because he's a super smart guy. Got a neck tat. I haven't seen a whole lot of nerds with neck tats, for the record, but all the same, like, he's super educated. He's got good ring IQ. He's got an ability to transition between skill sets. So I think that there's a lot to work with. And anyways, he goes out there, he beats Jeffries, looks really good doing it. They don't sign him to a contract. Thought that was a little bit weird. So he takes another fight on Contender Series against Jesse Murray, like 2 weeks later, up at 205 pounds, not 185, and absolutely wrecks him in the first round. So low-level opposition, but took the fight on short notice up a weight class. So I really think that you see the diversity to his striking. You see that he's a work in progress, but he's getting a lot more comfortable. The UFC, of course, does sign him. He comes to the UFC. He takes on Omar Gadziev, who might not actually be all that good. But, it's the equivalent to like a shutout, like he goes out there and he beats him in every aspect of the game. He struck him standing. He took him down. He looked super comfortable on the ground. His gas tank looked good. Nothing looked like it was going to be a problem. It was a very clean victory. Maybe low-level opposition, but again, another clean victory. Armen, meanwhile, that Armen, as I had talked about him the last time, the guy's wily. He's got good striking. He's with it. He's got good kicks. He stays in your face. And he's got good cardio. That's a big thing about him, is that he's got an ability to push a pace. So even though his grappling is not all that good, if you tire out trying to grapple him, he's going to eventually take over. When he was on the Contender Series against that Koloyan Kolev, he's getting manhandled for the first 3 minutes of the fight. He gets taken down 3 times. Gets taken down at will. Unfortunately, this big sauced-up Bulgarian tires out, and as soon as he does, Arm catches him and he puts him away. Takes on RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez is a fantastic fighter, but you see just how big the guy is physically. You can push a pace on him, anything can happen. We got dog money on that one. It was labeled a dog or pass type situation. The dog squeaked it out. But, Paul, you could have won that fight just as much as I could have won that fight because RoboCop put a beating on Petrosyan, shatters his face, took him down, took his back. But my guy Petrosyan puts a little more striking on him. The volume was there. It was a close fight. Personally, I did score for Armen Petrosyan. I see the argument the other way around, and it's a close split decision. When I think about Kyle Borralho, he's got good cardio, so I don't think he has to get into these crazy slugfests or knock him out, drag him down type fights. I think he goes out there methodically with his stand-up. It's good enough to keep him out of harm's way largely, but he needs to just bait him in. And when he does bait him in, get the takedown. Everybody else has been able to do it so far. He's given up 5 takedowns in his last 2 fights, and I think that Borralho can do that. When he does get the fight to the ground, his grappling is top-notch. No offense to Gregory Rodriguez, for a guy that is a high-level BJJ black belt, he doesn't really have a whole lot of submission wins of late, and he has spent a lot of time on guys' backs. He takes the back a lot. He gets into good positions. He just is not rewarded with those positions, and his opponent usually gets back up. I think with Borralho, if he can just get the fight to the ground and get the positions he likes, he'll be able to kill off a lot of the clock. So I don't like the 2-1, if we're being perfectly honest, but I think they're both bright prospects. I just like more what I see out of Caio, especially at 185 pounds. So I'm gonna have to go with him to get the job done, but not one that I would have a whole lot of confidence in. Not because I don't love Caio, I really do, but because he's taking on somebody else who's also got an adequate skill set. I don't want it on my second line. I don't want it on my third line, but at least you can trust him a little more than some of these other guys, right?
Caio over 1.5 takedowns. The worry there is that maybe he takes him down. His jiu-jitsu is so much better. He's able to fish for a submission, but as you kind of said over the course of it, Petrosyan taken down twice by RoboCop, taken down 3 times by Kolev. Caio took down Aaron Jeffrey 3 times. The path is definitely there. So Caio over 1.5 takedowns is on my prize picks this week. Maybe not super confident. I've only made one 5 of 5. It's a flex play. So if you get 5 out of 5, which I got on one of them last week, you get 10-1 on your money. 4 out of 5, you get 2x. 3 out of 5, you get 0.4x. So at least you get 40% of your money back. So there's a lot of outs. If you get 4 or 5, you're good. I'm not supremely confident in Caio getting over 2 or more takedowns, but I thought the number was a little bit low, so that's how I've got my investment in this one. Moving on down, we got Said Nurmagomedov taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade, minus 300 Said, plus 250 for DSDA. I love Douglas Silva de Andrade. I just don't know if I love him in this spot. Giving up a lot of reach, obviously, but that's pretty typical of like all of his fights. He's just a short, stubby, muscle machine. What an absolute war. I mean, maybe I'm feeling like really high on him because of, cashing out a decent-sized dog ticket last time against Sergey Morozov. He just showed so much heart in that fight. Saeed's got all the skills. It's obviously super, super dicey. I think the price is a little bit wide here. It continues to swell, continues to get wider. People see the name Nurmagomedov, and they bet the side Nurmagomedov. But Saeed made me look like an absolute jabroni last time out by finishing, I think I was on the over, by finishing Cody Saftic in the first round, which is like, that's an impressive feat. So, I'm kind of staring at it as like a dog or pass, but I wanted to hear what you had to say. Is there any merit to it? I imagine Saeed's probably going to be closer up your parlays.
Yeah, well, at 3-1, it obviously insinuates he's one of the bigger favorites on the card. He's going to be one of the safer guys on the card. And I'm going to agree for the most part. But the thing with a big, strong physical unit like de Andrade is you hate betting that much chalk against a guy who's this physically shredded and clearly takes his craft extremely seriously. Because, yeah, he is live. He's a guy that can fight a hard couple rounds. He can overcome some adversity. His last fight with Morozov, he is seriously compromised early, gets rocked. Near stoppage in the first, and then comes back to absolutely destroy Morozov in the second round. So I think there's a lot of good stuff that you can get out of him for an underdog play, certainly. The other thing is level of competition. This guy's seen it all. I mean, he's fought in the likes of Lerone Murphy, Hano Borralho, Petrosyan, Marlon Vera, Rob Font, Zubair Tuhugov back in the day. So they've done him no favors for the most part. He's fought a really high level. He went 2 full rounds with Petrosyan and got caught. He went the distance with Lerone Murphy. He went, in deep, almost 2 full rounds with Rob Font. So you see that there are levels to this. He loses to the elite level guys, but I mean, he's durable enough to last a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. The Morozov fight, he's getting killed early, but that durability keeps him in it long enough to catch Morozov, a guy that is potentially suspect. Let's be real, right? With Saeed Nurmagomedov, I think it's much of the same. I think he's going to get frozen up. I think he's going to have a lot of trouble finding his timing, finding the distance, and putting up significant strikes. And he's just going to fall behind on the strike count. If at some point he does get rocked, if at some point he gets, shooken up and Saeed ends up on his back, or Saeed ends up with a guillotine choke, of course he can finish him. I got owned in the Cody Saftic thing just as much as you did. Dude's super durable. Again, dude loses to the Aljamain Sterlings of the world inside the distance. But outside of that is like a tough gatekeeper type opponent. And it has good grappling, has good wrestling, and he just got buzzsawed in the first. So Saeed is opportunistic. He could beat you stand up. He could beat you on the ground if he catches you with something. I think he could finish this fight inside the distance. But the more likely path is he uses superior speed, footwork, stay to the outside, and just chip away at him. You see Douglas de Andrade against some slower opponents. Well, maybe not slower necessarily, but the Sergey Morozov fight. Struggles early. Morozov slows down. He puts some strikes together and finishes them. But it wasn't huge output. The Gaetano Perello fight, he finishes him early, so you don't get to see the output. Go back and watch the Lerone Murphy fight. That's a better indicator. Go back and watch, say, the Petrosyan fight. That's a better indicator. They're fast, fleet-footed guys that move laterally, and he just can't find the range on them. Yeah. So they stay at distance and they just chip away. And so whereas Morozov slipped up and got caught, I just don't think Saeed Nurmagomedov is going to. Do I like the price tag? Hell no, right? Do I want to bet against de Andrade with that kind of price? Probably not. But Nurmagomedov, just like the stylistical clash favors him. He's got multiple paths to victory, and I think he's got a safe route to a decision. Might be able to finish him inside the distance. And for that reason, yeah, I've got to have some confidence in him.
Over 2.5 is plus 100, which is probably not a bad look in this spot.
Not terrible, but Cody Saftic, you overlooked pretty good too, right?
So Saftic always goes to decision, so that's that's why I'm scared to. I mean, that's probably why it's priced this way, right? Because he finished Cody Saftic in round 1. If that doesn't happen, this over 2.5 is probably like minus 170. A little bit of recency bias cooked into it. I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll see where I get as the week goes on. If this keeps swelling and it gets up to plus 300, I'm probably gonna, me, full blown degen. It's at least I won't lose as much money if I get completely swept off the board and it's all long underdogs like this, I suppose. Let's move on down. Here's another one that's like absolute grease fire. Jared Vanderaa takes on Chase the vanilla gorilla Sherman? Because we got to know, Cody. We got to know, like, who is the worst. Are these guys even the worst heavyweights? Like, I mean, Jared Vanderaa may be the dumbest heavyweight. Because, like, why would you ever decide to grapple with old man Oleinik? Like, that was hilarity. That was so funny. I love that. I was on Oleinik, and like the entire time I was watching it going like, what is this guy doing? What are you even thinking? Like, you're supposed to stay at range. You know, you have decent volume. That is your path to victory here. In this spot, I almost kind of think like, is Jared Vanderaa just going to stand in like kicking range so that Chase Sherman can just kick his leg for 15 minutes? Because that's entirely possible the way that this guy showed up against old man Oleinik. Minus 205 for Vanderaa. Not that I want to bet Chase Sherman. Like, no person should want to bet Chase Sherman in a UFC fight. Like, I mean, I think he's 1-8 in his last 9 fights or something.
1-7 over.
Either way, it's super, super ugly. He hasn't done anything impressive, but I could see this being like a close heavyweight slobber knocker where round 3, these guys are kind of tired, but still throwing like absolute greasy shots. Is Vanderaa that much of a better wrestler? Like, is he really going to be able to control the range? Is he going to really control the game by taking Chase down? I'm not so sure about that. Like, most of his best victories, his best performances have been like leading the dance on the feet. Another spot I think is dog or pass, but like I don't think I can build up the courage after coming off of like such a horrible week last week to bet Chase Sherman at plus 175. But I'll pick Chase Sherman for the purposes of this show. What's your take here?
Yeah, the UFC missed a unique opportunity here to, first of all, do Chase Sherman versus Alan Baudot in a battle of who would look good for the first 3 minutes and find some way to blow it beyond that. And then also they could have booked Jared Vanderaa. Well, I guess they've already fought him. This is Harry Hunsucker. But that would be the 2 other worst guys on the roster. Now, Harry Hunsucker, very wise, realizes, geez, I might be the worst heavyweight on the roster. So has actually moved down to 205, where he's going to fight Tyson Pedro and, you know, have a pull-out potentially being the worst 205er on the roster. So we'll have to see how that one shakes up. But, yeah, no, this is super, super low level, but the fans love it, man. Fans love the big, greasy heavyweights. Could be a quick knockout. Could be an absolute bog, but not every day you see guys that are 6'4", 265 pounds, cut down to 265. So, yeah, there's something thrilling about it there. They're both super low level. What I will admit about Chase Sherman goes back to the joke I just made about him in the Alan Baudot fight, is that you and I keyed in on the fight with Ike Villanueva, right? It's his last win. He's 1-7 over his last 8. The one win, he tested positive afterwards. It should be a no contest. In fact, guys like Alan Baudot got wins from disqualifications because their opponents failed drug tests, right? So how he kept that win, I don't know. But he looked good in that fight. And his back is just covered in back knee, right? Fails, takes the time off, comes back against Andrei Arlovski. Didn't look very good. Looked good early, faded. No tank down the stretch, got worked by Arlovski. The Parker Porter fight, he looked pretty good early, massively fails in the second and the third round, completely tires out. And then his last 2 against Jake Collier and Alexander Romanov, Collier exploited the fact that Chase Sherman's awful on the ground. Like, he just took him down, passed him out immediately, pounded on him, and then got a rear naked choke all within 2 minutes and 26 seconds. And then Romanov, it was a joke that they had booked him, but you know, they needed somebody short notice. Nobody wanted to fight Romanov. The UFC doubled Chase Sherman's show money, patted him on the back, said, thanks for doing this, dude, and actually gave him a fight out of it, right? He's on a 4-fight losing streak. They don't give guys like Chase Sherman another opportunity to compete, but they were thankful that he went in there against Romanov and got smoked. So I won't hold that one against him. But what you're seeing is in 15-minute striking affairs, he's completely gassing out and, you know, tiring down the stretch and losing. And if it ends up being a grappling battle, his grappling is just not all that good. I guess Jared Vanderaa figures probably lose the first round but not get knocked out, and then the second and the third round he's just going to swarm him with volume. The guy's terrible, he really is, but if he's got anything, it's probably volume. And to be frank with you, Chase Sherman's wrestling looked decent against Romanov. He got taken down 3 times, but like he fought the first couple off really good and got back up. It looked actually like, damn, this guy's been working on his wrestling. Unfortunately, he's taking on Romanov. But also, unfortunately, when he did get taken down the third time, he just accepts it because he got tired. So Vanderaa not going to take him down early, I bet. What he needs to do is weather the early storm and just continuously put on pressure, continuously come forward, wear on him, let the striking numbers eventually favor him, and just let output take over. And the takedowns won't be there early, but they may be there later in the second or into the third. And if the fight was to hit the ground, him versus Alexei Oleinik, apparently there's levels to this. And even though Jared Vanderaa is a black belt, he won on Alexei Oleinik's level despite the dude being 46 years old, a former middleweight, and damn near crippled. Okay, that's another story for another day. But against Chase Sherman, who's not on the GAC anymore, okay, all right. Yeah, if the fight got to the ground and he was tired and you got on top, you can make something happen. So, greasy heavyweight fight. The thing is the minus 205 versus Vanderaa makes it a complete pass, right? But because on the PRP, it'll have to end up there at some point. It will be Vanderaa, but it'll be low down there. And why it's a minus 205 on a clearly heavyweight 50-50 pick 'em, like I'm not entirely sure, but you and I have preached in the past that low-level heavyweights, you can always get a good plus money tag there. So even though I don't love Chase Sherman, I'm not picking him outright. I really aren't. If you are picking him at plus 175, you could do worse for sure.
Vanderaa 51.5 significant strikes on Prize Picks. Over. Obviously Sherman could get finished in the first round, but it's like against Arlovsky, he got to Vanderaa got to 70 in that, and that was like kind of a slow-paced fight. Against Justin Tafa, which I think maybe this fight kind of looks a little bit more like, he got 121 significant strikes. When he's not getting taken down, submitted, taken down, controlled, he's throwing quite a bit of volume for a big heavy. So I think 51.5 is way, way too low. So that was another piece of my Prize Picks puzzle. Prize Picks, Pat.
Well, this is actually a betting question for Cody. If I'm watching this live, the way that you describe this fight is if you don't want to eat the minus 205, why not just bet it after round one? Like you said, like if he comes out and he storms Chase Sherman, then you didn't bet the minus 205, whatever. But if he loses round one, aren't you going to get like an even money price tag after round one if he loses it?
Yeah, that's fair enough, right? And it gets you from making a bad bet initially. You don't want to bite the 205, so you don't. And if he gets smoked in the first round, you're like, oh, so glad I never made that bet. But if you see a live betting opportunity he took Sherman's best shots, Sherman's always naturally going to slow down. The guy's better suited for bare knuckle boxing. He's on his way out. Jared Vanderaa needs to go out there and utilize the best of his skill sets. It's like Paul opened this entire segment by saying, dude's just not smart. He's just really not that bright of a guy, inside and outside of the cage. So similar to Sean Strickland, for the record, Jared Vanderaa and Sean Strickland, former training partners. Can I trust him to go out there and make the proper decisions? Maybe not. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Bet him after the first round where you can get plus money on him. And then who cares if he's got bad ring IQ? It's plus money. At 205, you're going to be cursing yourself early. So not a bad way of looking at it for sure. I think he'll get Homer Simpson in the first round and then work his way back in, and you'll get a better price tag after the first.
All right, we got Jamie.
And what Paul's saying actually makes a lot of sense as well, the over 50 significant strikes, because Chase Sherman's not going to want to take this guy down. And Vanderaa maybe wants to take Chase Sherman down, but Jared Vanderaa has scored one takedown in his last 5 fights, and it was against Harry Hunsucker, the aforementioned guy, who had otherwise rocked him early in that Contender Series fight. So his wrestling, even though he's a black belt, and they call him, what is he called, the Mountain? Like, dude's 270 pounds. Like, he sucks on the ground. He's got no wrestling. So he has a huge advantage there. I just don't know that he'll be able to get it there. So this probably ends up being a fight where they both stand there and land. And Paul mentioned the Arlovsky fight. If you go back and you watch the
look
Parker
at Chase
Porter
Sherman's
fight,
totals
if you go back
for
and you
all
watch
of
the
his
Augustus
fights.
Sakai fight, all of them. Even the Justin Willis fight, which is super low pace, Justin Willis still easily eclipses 50 significant strikes. He led 76, right?
Chase Sherman,
I think it's
incredibly hittable. Incredibly hittable. If he doesn't get finished, that's where the over becomes
saving
dicey.
grace. He only gets finished if it's on the ground, whereas he's taking on a guy that has no ability to get to the ground early. What Pat's saying, bet him after the first round. When I'm saying same thing, he could get him down second or third round, but he needs to wear him down. And we're going to talk about Michael Johnson. Taking Michael Johnson down early, not easy. Dude wrestled in junior college, extremely athletic, wrestled with some of the best guys. Second and the third round, taking Michael Johnson down, not that hard. Well, hard for me, not hard for a UFC level athlete.
Is it going to be hard for Jamie Mullarkey, who's a minus 235 favorite against Michael Johnson, though?
Yeah.
This one's so dicey, but like that price is weird because I mean Mullarkey just got knocked out less than 6 months ago. Michael Johnson does hit hard. He's obviously put in training with some of the best guys in the world in Sanford. I forget what their name of their gym is now. They just changed it the other day. But
again, it's not Hard Knock 365.
I thought they changed it to something.
They changed it again? Jeez.
Yeah, they changed it from like Sanford to something else. I can look that up in a bit. Mullarkey, minus 235. Johnson, plus 200. I kind of want to bet the underdog here, but I don't want to pull the trigger on Michael Johnson because the guy's an absolute flake. Like, he can look so, like, the Thiago Moises fight always comes to mind. It's just like, he looked amazing in round 1, and then just like one momentary lapse of judgment, and he's submitted. It's game over. But this price seems a little bit wide. Is Jamie Mullarkey going to have, like, the wrestling chops to really control him, to really dictate that? Mullarkey, we used to lean on his great durability, but you know, after getting iced last time out and in such a short distance since that, you start to question, you know, maybe he's not able to take the damage that he once was. Minus 235 is just a very, very steep price to be paying against a long veteran, a guy with 37 fights inside, or 37 professional fights, and most of those inside of the octagon in Michael Johnson. So Michael Johnson's over the hill, but I think this is another dogger pass situation, Cody.
Yeah, fair enough. I got to go with Jamie Mullarkey still, but I understand what you're saying. It's a dogger pass situation that Michael Johnson's got way more experience. He's, of course, you can't talk about the guy not mention the fact that he's knocked out Dustin Poirier. You know, he was a 4-1 morning line favorite over Nate Diaz, got smoked in that fight. But all the same, it's like he's fought a really high level, got to win over Tony Ferguson. You know, rocked Justin Gaethje in his fight, you know, almost put him away. So, like, that guy's credible, but yeah, the later years just haven't been too kind for him. And I know he trains on an elite level, and I know this and that, but he has a way to let you down. Can he pick up a victory here and there? Sure. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Michael Johnson, at his best, world class, he just never shows up at his best. And sneakily, he's now 36 years old. He was known for this, like, huge power. I understand he knocked out Alan Patrick his last time out, but like the power doesn't really seem to be there anymore. He tried dropping down to 55 to 45, looked awful at 45, has come back to 55, and I don't really know that he's found any of the success there either. You talked about, you know, wrestling and grappling, and is Jamie Mullarkey going to go out there and out wrestle him, out grapple him? Seeing what Clay Guida was able to do to him, seeing what Stevie Ray was able to do with him, where the later you take him into fights, one single takedown, he just has no ability to get back up. That's somebody that grinds and pushes a pace and is going to be actively searching for the takedowns, is going to grind him down. I believe it was you once upon a time. I picked him over Darren Elkins. What's the fight? 2018. That was 4 years ago. I picked him over Darren Elkins, and you're like, no. Darren Elkins, good live betting opportunity. Elkins probably loses the first round, but Elkins never stops coming. And Michael Johnson has a way of disappearing. At the time, it was like, yeah, watch it, because Elkins is going to get his head smoked off. And like, yeah, Elkins lost the first round. Then you know what happened after that? He went out there, established a takedown, beat him on him, gave up his back, subbed him with the rear naked choke. That ability to grind and withstand the early damage, you know, that's always been his kryptonite. So Alan Patrick is likewise, you know, in his mid-30s now. He's very one-dimensional. His wrestling's not that good to begin with. He struggled against bigger, more physical strikers in the past, and it was no different. It was a good way for Michael Johnson to get back in the win column. But essentially, any fight that goes beyond that first round, that goes mid and deep, end of the second, going into the third, that's when he really falters and falls apart, and that's where you see him get exposed. Jamie Mullarkey can and will do that. Is the guy chinny? Well, his losses by knockout are to Alexander Volkanovski, which I'm inclined to give the guy a pass on.
I'd give him
and then the other one's Jalen Turner, which I can tell you something.
That kid's on.
I'm inclined to give the guy a pass on. God damn.
But it was only in March, man. It wasn't that long ago.
It was only in March, right? So you look at it and you think, okay, what is it? March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, all right. And he did get it completely iced in that fight as well, but I don't know. I think he'll be okay. He's got an ability to take damage and keep coming forward, right? If if that's compromised and taken away from him, I agree with you for sure. He got
Mullarkey live. You may
seconds.
Get a better price than the minus 235 if Michael Johnson has a good
round. I was going to say this would be another opportunity where you might be able to get a better price on Jamie Mullarkey after the first. However, unlike the last fight where I do fully expect Chase Sherman to be very competitive, if not win the first round, Johnson could
Just
win the first round. He could also get his ass beat in the first round, and you're never going to see that price tag ever again on Jamie Mullarkey.
That's
right?
fair.
Like, if he loses the first, no one's going to live bet Michael Johnson because that's his best round, right? So if Jamie takes that away from him, and again, he can do that with pressure, it's completely possible. I thought Jamie Mullarkey won the Faraz Zayem fight. He did that entirely with pressure. Pressure the guy, pressure him, right? The Devontae Smith fight. Devontae Smith fights in many regards similar to Michael Johnson. Very explosive for that first round. Big power, very dynamic, good striker. The longer that you can drag him into those deeper waters, the more success you'll have against him, right? So he was able to live through that one. Jalen Turner, not so much. But again, he got finished 46 seconds into the second round, officially meaning he made it 5 more minutes than Brad Riddell. Like, this, what he was able to do against him is actually not that bad. He took a lot of damage early. He took all of it. He withstood it. He walked through his best shots. He actually takes him down at the end of the first round. And it's just like, okay, Jamie Mullarkey is working his way into it, and then he gets caught in the second. Brad Riddell literally got rocked and put away after that first shot. So even though he just got finished, I think his durability is still there, and I think that that's going to be key to putting a pressure on Michael Johnson, breaking him down, and ultimately getting, I would think, a decision victory. So sign me up for Jamie Mullarkey, but again, the price tag's not great, and I wouldn't fault anybody for banking on Michael Johnson's great footwork and huge power. It's just like he only uses that stuff once every so often because he just used it in his last fight. Chances are he's going out there to throw up a goose egg in this one.
Top Gym Sanford MMA rebranded to Kill Cliff FC. I don't know what Cliff did, but Kill Cliff FC. Who knows?
It won't last long. Like, someone should write a book on it. But at this point, it's like they were American Top Team, and then they broke off and they became the Black Zillions. Actually, it was it Jacko Athletic Center?
Yeah.
Jacko Athletic.
Black Zillions, and then...
Yeah, but it was
then
that,
Jayco,
they had that clothing brand, Jayco. Anyways, it was like a Jayco hybrid training center or something, and then they were the Black Zillions, and then that scraped, and then they changed to something, and then they changed to Hard Knocks 365, and then they changed to Sanford. Now they're changed to Kill Cliff FC. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? They're just gonna rebrand to something else at some other point. Like, it's actually kind of difficult to stay with. ATT's been ATT since 2001. It puts things into perspective. Right?
I don't understand all the name changes. It doesn't. Is it some sort of like tax evasion thing? Like, they're already in Florida. There's basically no taxes in Florida. That's what I'm led to believe as a Canadian.
So to my knowledge, ATT splits, right? And then the guys that are like, okay, well, we're going to go do our own thing. We're going to have the Black Zillions. So it's like Jay-Z Calvacante and Jorge Santiago and like a lot of those original guys, Gilbert Burns, like a lot of those original guys, they kind of set up shop and do their own thing. So they had Glenn Robinson. You remember they had American Top Team versus Black Zillions was a season of The Ultimate Fighter, right? And it's like centered around Glenn Robinson as the money guy. And then he ended up having like some tax evasion, like end up filing for bankruptcy and then got some health issues and then died, right? And he was funding the entire thing. So at that point, it's like, well, we don't got no money, man. So what happened was Henry Hoof, who's, been the boss and he's been the boss for a while now, is that he seems to link up with these like rich investors, generally either own a gym or just want to brand a gym. So they're essentially just rebranding a gym. So like Hard Knocks 365 is just like a fitness center essentially, but they're just like, yo, you got money or you got millions. Okay, I'm going to bring in a world-class MMA team, South Florida. They're going to train here. You fund it. It's this great deal. And the deals just never work out because as anybody knows, there's no money in fighting, right? Like Team Takedown tried to do it with Johnny Hendricks and they got paid $1 million when he beat Robbie Lawler, but they still went broke, right? Because like funding 6 guys so that one of them might be a world champion, funding 20 guys so that one of them might be a world champion. Yeah, no, long term, no, not going to work out. So that's what they seem to do. They just eventually their 2-year relationship will run dry, and there'll be some other things. So Sanford MMA, I bet you was some other rich guy who probably had Sanford somewhere in his name or some type of family tie, and was just like, "I'll give you a bunch of money, and you just call it Sanford MMA," and that's what they did.
I wonder.
And then 2 years later, the lease is up, and the money's not there anymore, and it's just like, yeah, this other guy's probably like, dude, I hate Cliff. He's my worst enemy on the planet. I got millions of dollars. You know what? F Cliff. I would normally drop the F-bomb, but I just don't want to cut it from the show later.
Of course, I'm
F Cliff. I'm starting my own team. Kill Cliff.
I was wondering if it was Cliff Sanford who owned it, and then he and they're like, kill Cliff. That's our new name because he's not paying the bills anymore. Cliff, get out of here, Sanford. Yeah. All right, we got Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Nunes. -145 Calvillo, +125 for Nina. Who you got here, buddy?
Yeah, this one's tough because it goes back to like what could somebody potentially do versus what they're realistically going to do. And that's kind of the problem for me. Nina Nunes, bit of a slow starter in the UFC, but like she found her footing. She found her footing in a big way. This is somebody that was going to be an absolute problem for a lot of the division. And I don't know if it was injuries. I don't know if it was my wife is considered the women's GOAT and is making millions of dollars and is in these huge fights. I don't know if it's we adopted a child and because my wife's such a badass and training at an elite level, like I have to become the child's primary caregiver. But like she kind of just like sidetracked her own career, I think. Like at her best, again, look at we'll just talk about her last, say, three. Angela Hill, all volume, all striking. She outstruck her 143 to 107 in a 15-minute time period. Her striking was on point. Grappling's an issue, but Angela Hill can't grapple, so didn't need it in that fight. And you see what she can do with her volume and striking, awesome. The Randa Marcos fight, she did get taken down, but takedown defense looked a lot improved in that fight. Put up the volume, put up the work, fine. The Claudia Gadelha fight looked tremendous. Doubled up Claudia Gadelha, a former world title challenger, on the striking output 2-1. Did get taken down twice. Ground game looked good. Ability to get back up to her feet looked good. Cardio looked good. She's right on the cusp of a world title shot. And they throw in there with Tatiana Suarez. She didn't look bad against Tatiana Suarez.
No, Suarez got tired in round 3. That was like Tatiana's like most. That was like her performance where she looked like most human.
Yeah, and Suarez is an absolute unit who steamrolls anybody that she feels like it. Looks like a legitimate threat to the world title. And, you know, if she didn't have injuries and she didn't have setbacks and all that, like who knows what her potential could be, right? Mm-hmm. And Nunes did make her look human in at least some regard. So she was on the right track. Now you take 2 years off, and these are prime years to you because Nina Nunes is 37. She's 36 years old, right? So you're leaving as a title contender in, 2018, 2019. You take off a critical 2 years. You come back, and then you got the Mackenzie Dern fight. Now, Mackenzie Dern, unreal grappler, wrestling, not good. And so she went out there, and Nina looked flat. She looked lethargic. Her footwork was gone. She was super tentative throwing strikes because she was worried about getting taken down. And then sure enough, did get taken down by Mackenzie Dern, who very few people can tell you, yeah, I got taken down by Mackenzie Dern. Her one of them. And as soon as the fight hit the ground, there was like large discrepancy in actual grappling skill set. We know that grappling's always been an issue for her in the past. It's that got people like Claudia Gadelha's got suspect gas tank. Angela Hill, not enough grappling, right? She made it work there. That 2 years off, she did not look herself. She did not fight herself. Her wrestling looked like it regressed. Her grappling wasn't never really there to begin with. Certainly let her down. It's a bad fight. And then you're furthermore going to compound another 16 months on top of that. It's like she doesn't got the in-cage experience. She doesn't got the timing down. You could make the argument, well, she's Amanda Nunes' wife. Like, obviously, she's training at a high level. Obviously, she's got money to put herself in the best position to succeed and show up in great shape. But all of that was true the last time against Dern. And she looked as bad as she's ever has, maybe, since the Justine Quiche fight once upon a time. Like, just not a very particularly good run for her. So as much as I say all of that, and I truly do believe it, when you look at Cynthia Calvillo, it's like all the same red flags. Like she, I'll never forget this one, right? So yeah, she hasn't looked good in a while, right? The weight cuts start chewing away at her. She wins fights, but they're fights that she's struggling with her weight cut. So then anyways, she fights Katlyn Chookagian, loses. She shoots the first takedown, right, from a mile out, gets stuffed. I remember I live tweeted it. I was like, bet Katlyn Chookagian right now, she's not going to get taken down. I think she maybe got taken down once in the whole fight, but paints her up, right? Doesn't look good. The Jessica Andrade fight, just Andrade batters her to the body. We give her a pass there, it's Andrade. But, striking, not all that good. Wrestling, not all that good. Where does this girl fit in? She was a weight bully at 115, big, strong, physical, could get those girls to the ground. At 125, the wrestling is rendered obsolete, and she can't take that good of a punch. So now I flipped the tide. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a flyer on Andrea Lee here because Andrea Lee is underdog. It's a dogger pass. Women's MMA, as Pat always says. Why not take a flyer on the underdog? She got roasted. You're taking on someone in Andrea Lee who notoriously has struggled with wrestlers and grapplers in all of her fights. Mm-hmm. You were not able to get her down whatsoever. You absolutely got picked apart standing to the tune that she quit between rounds, and then she quits. They wave it off. Her eyes swollen shut. She's got her head down, and she starts peeling her gloves off. Like she's fully going to put them in the center of the cage and retire right then and there. Here's somebody, she's on a 3-fight losing streak. She's 34 years old.
Yep.
She's just fallen way down the rankings. She's getting madly beat up now by Andrea Lee and Jessica Andrade in subsequent fights. All of her other losses, no other loss. She had lost to Carla Esparza, right? The current world champion and a former world champion as well. She went the distance with Marina Rodriguez in a competitive draw. You know, she beat Jessica Ai, a former world title challenger. Now she's getting stopped by Andrea Lee and Andrade, and it hurts. And you're 34, and you're not getting any better. You're getting worse. And 125 ain't the weight class for you. None of this sounds good. And I don't know if her mind thought, I'm retiring, and someone said to her, yo, just wait on it. She suddenly reignited the passion. But she looked, that last fight, like she did not want to be there from the second the buzzer rang until the second that she decided on her corner, I actually vocalized it. I don't want to be here. And then you go back and you watch the Andrade fight again. You watch the Katlyn Chookagian fight again. She's not inspired in any of those fights.
No.
So to bet her suddenly and think that she's going to come out here hungry to use her wrestling and use her grappling, which would be needed to beat Nina Nunes, I don't know that I can trust her. Flip side of that for a Nina Nunes, if this thing stays standing, she's going to dice Calvillo up with her volume and her pace. But if she gets taken down, like she got, weak ass get up game. So like, I don't know. If Pat Mayo's taught me anything, it's just like spam the underdog pick on these women's MMA fights that are competitive and figure to go 15 minutes. I think this is competitive. I think it probably goes 15 minutes. I'll take Nina Nunes.
I agree. I'll take Nina Nunes as well in this situation. Hopefully she's had a serious camp. Hopefully, Amanda's obviously getting ready for Pena, so I'm sure. I haven't been watching The Ultimate Fighter. I wonder if Nina's been in the mix whatsoever on that program. I just, I pulled up an old tweet of mine. After watching, it's me reading my tweet. After watching the Twitter's reaction following Calvillo versus Lee and Nunes versus Pena, it's safe to say there's a double standard for being labeled a quitter in MMA. Apologize to my guy Max Roshkov right now because everyone called that guy a quitter. He got ousted from the organization. Seems sexist to me. Pat, you have something to say?
Yeah, prize picks wise, I'm just looking at the last few fights. I know they didn't go the distance, and this is a minus 225 to hit the over of 2.5, but under 60.5 significant strikes for Calvillo. Has gone under 3 times in a row, and it doesn't sound like she's any good. She might quit.
I mean, if she's getting the takedowns, you probably get bailed out there because significant strikes on the ground don't count. Exactly. In fairness to her, obviously the Andrea Lee one, she quit after round 2. She got to 47. So if that one goes 3 rounds, she probably gets there. And in fairness, like Jessica Andrade is an absolute savage, and she had 27 in 1 round in that spot and absorbed 48 and got finished. I don't know if I love it. It didn't make my prize picks card, but you are prize picks Pat. So who am I to disagree with you? Anything to add to that, Cody?
No, like again, I think it could hit for certain. It could hit. I would be my personal opinion. I would be agreeing with Pat. Like I don't think Cynthia is going to land over 60. If she goes out there and keeps it standing for 15 minutes, she hasn't got the output, right? And also Nina Nunes isn't exactly a super easy target to hit. She moves her feet quite well. She stays at distance. She's in her mid-30s. She has a child. She's got money in the bank. She's not looking to go out there and get into a brawl, I don't think. And then likewise, if Cynthia Calvillo gets the fight to the ground, that's where it's super subjective. I've seen times where it's like, oh man, this person landed 150 strikes. And it's like, well, how many did Fight Metric deem that were, significant? How many did the actual metrics deem significant? Oh, like 42. It's like, well, why is that? It's like, because chipping away on the ground, little crack.
Those don't count.
No one was actually counting those
jabs
things,
did not count on the feet either. Jabs on the feet and
Nunes
ground strikes,
down.
Which is kind of dumb. Like what constitutes a significant strike, but
it's very subjective. But again, stand up, it's like if I hit you with a jab, a 1-2, finish off with a leg kick. So it's a jab, straight right down the middle, and I finish off with a leg kick. Well, then you landed 3 shots. When you're in the clinch, I see this all the time, right? So fighter A is trying to take down fighter B. Okay, he's got him pinned up against the cage. Fighter B's got his back up against the cage, and he proceeds to punch fighter A 20 times in the face. But it's not significant because, well, he's got his back up against the cage. How much power can you generate doing this? Yeah, quite a bit, to be quite honest with you, but all the same, it's not deemed significant. So sometimes with his ground and pound exchanges, Cynthia Calvillo's got lackluster cardio. I don't think she's going to look to pick up pace. The only thing that could possibly happen is she's on a 3-fight losing streak. This is the end of the road for her. She's like highly motivated to put on some great fight. And Nina Nunes is coming off of one fight in the last like 4 years. And it wasn't a good one, right? So, yeah, like I think all of that's enough red flags to be like, pass, probably on a prize pick standpoint, pass on a betting standpoint. But, of course, if you're looking for live underdogs, and Paul's talked about a number of them that are live, this one I'm going to agree with. I'm going to agree with and say Nunes is definitely a live underdog. In terms of Pat's question with the under 60 prize picks for prize pick significant strikes for Calvillo, I'm going to agree with him as well and go with the under. But in both scenarios, greasy, you don't feel super confident about it.
You don't need to take it kind of thing.
Yeah. I could just
There'd be some better spots, I think.
I think there are better spots. I could see it being, I could see them both getting like around 80 or so on the feet pretty comfortably. All right, let's move on. We've got Ricky Turcios taking on Aiemann Zahabi, minus 185 Turcios, plus 160 for Zahabi. Zahabi came back from a 2-year layoff in 2021, and then he's followed it up with another like almost year and a half layoff since the Draco Rodriguez overhand right finish. Turcios, winner of the Ultimate Fighter, split decision win over Brady Highstand. I don't know. That Draco Rodriguez Aiemann Zahabi win is so weird because it's like that's not typically what we see from him. Obviously, a lot of Aiemann Zahabi's win like early in his career on the Quebec regional scene. It's like he's fighting like guys with losing records, guys with no records whatsoever. I remember me and you went to Slam 1 in Montreal. He was taking on Kyle Vivian. Kyle Vivian was staying at our hotel, and he was smoking cigs like while we were out there smoking cigs. Like that's the level. That was his MMA debut back in 2012. So that dates us quite a bit here. But that just kind of shows you like a lot of those early finishes in his career. I wouldn't read into it too much. His UFC career, you know, he's more of like a decision type of fighter. So I'm kind of interested in over 2.5 rounds, minus 165. I think that's a half decent parlay leg right there. That's my most that's what I'm most interested in. I want you to talk to me more about Ricky Turcios. Do you really like him in this spot? What do you expect from Zahabi? I'm really, really torn on what to do with this fight, besides the over.
Yeah, well, this is another case of just like what version of Zahabi's going to show up. And like, to be honest with you, I don't know, because it's always been a case of like the guy in the gym versus the guy in the cage. Guy in the gym, they used to tell us back in the day, like, yo, man, former WC champ Miguel Torres, you know, Nick Denis fought in the UFC briefly, Yves Jean-Bouin, WC veteran and UFC veteran. Like, these guys will go in there and spar at TriStar with Aiemann, and Aiemann completely kills all of them, all talented guys. This striking is on another level. His jiu-jitsu is on another level. What he's able to do in the gym is on another level. This guy is top notch. This is 10 years ago. He's going to the UFC. He's going to be the man. But then Aiemann, right, younger brother of Faraz like also manages him and is his head coach. And Faraz did not want the guy to fight. He's like, you should get an education. You should coach. You should find other ways to make money, not fight. Didn't really want him to fight. So if you look at his record, it's super wonky. He defeats Derek Charbonneau as an amateur. Derek Charbonneau, I think it was 0-6 as an amateur and 0-1 as a pro. The loss as a pro is Robin Black. We were also at that fight, right? It's a Slam 1 show. He beats Kyle Vivian on that first show, right? Does Aiemann Zahabi. Kyle smoking. They tried to book a rematch with Derek Charbonneau to be his second pro fight. They're not looking to test themselves. In fact, they're looking to fight the absolute worst guys possible. And they're vocal about it. Trash cans. Guys that fighting out of their garage. So they get that. Philip Deschambeau trained for a native reserve. He was 4-6 at the time. I think he's 4-9 now. Wesley Bowman, very low level. Scott Farhat was 7-8 at the time, low level. All these guys are low level. He did beat Kyle Oliveira, who had a bad looking record, was a talented fighter. But at no point are they looking to take any type of risk. And then he lands in the UFC. Faraz is vocal about the fact that like he's nervous about it. What's there to be nervous about? This guy beats UFC quality guys in the gym every single day. He had that fight with Reginaldo Vieira, UFC debut. He won. But did he? Fights in New Brunswick, right? It's close to his backyard because Montreal would have been, well, I don't know, 6-10 hours, like far enough. But at the same time, It's in Canada. He's got a lot of fanship there. He's taking on a guy in Reginaldo Vieira, despite winning the Ultimate Fighter Brazil, was very, very limited. And he looked like absolute trash. Couldn't handle the pressure, super low volume. Takedowns are non-existent. What's there to his game? There's nothing to his game. And it was at that moment it dawned on me, all these years people have been feeding me how good this kid is. And the one guy that does not believe in him is his own brother, who's his head coach and his manager. That's the guy that was like, don't fight in the UFC. Why do you think he made his debut in the UFC at age? Let me just bring it up officially. He's 29 years old. 29 years old, and at that point in his career, he was a lead training partner for Georges St-Pierre. The gym was super hot. They had Rory McDonald. The UFC was bending over backward to cater to these guys. He trains with a plethora of UFC veterans. He's in the prime of his career. He's 29, and they sat him on the sidelines. He fought 5 full years on the regional show and fought 6 times in 5 years. They didn't want him to be active. They didn't want him to fight good guys. He looked terrible against Reginaldo Vieira. Likewise, his second fight, he's a fade waiting to happen, and he walks right into it, right? He loses the first round against Ricardo Ramos. He won the second round. He was working his way back into it, chipping away from the outside. Hands looked sharp, but at the same time, not a whole lot of volume. Edges out the second round. Third round, Ramos throws a spinning back elbow, misses by a mile, as Zahabi just runs face first right into a second spinning back elbow. Knocks him out, dems the brakes, but didn't look good. The Vince Morales fight, the very next one, he throws absolutely no volume and proceeded to get outstruck by Vince Morales 59-28. Where's the volume? Where's the elite striking? Where's the swagger? Where's the takedowns? All of it, not there. Terrible performance. And so him beating Draco Rodriguez was an anomaly because he hasn't shown any glimpses of his potential. And then in that fight, it was like, oh shit. The dude actually is a good counterpuncher. He's got fast hands. He's got some power. He just never shows it to you. And in that one instance against Draco, he did. And what does he proceed to do, Paul? Take 16 months off. Now he's 34 years old and he's coming back. Is he a one-hitter quitter guy? Is his power that good? Is he just going to hit Ricky and put him away? Because the problem with Ricky Turcios is he comes at you. In the fight on the Contender Series against Boston Salmon, he landed 110 significant strikes to 61, lost the decision. Comes back, matures a little bit, lost again on the regional scene, and he got knocked out by Mana Martinez, who's got a ton of power. Doesn't matter. Rolls from that onto the Ultimate Fighter, looked okay. The guy's got infinite gas tank. He just goes at you hard the entire time. So now he drives a Brady Hines stand, and I actually end up picking Brady Hines stand. It was live underdog money. The guy's solid. The kid's 22 years old. He's got good wrestling. Ricky can't stuff any takedowns. So Brady's needs to put the pace on him. And it was a wild fight. You see where Ricky's super wild, but you see where he's got so much damn cardio, Paul. He just doesn't stop. So the problem is that eventually he's going to wow the judges because his work rate is just second to none. And against Aiemann Zahabi, it'd be the same thing. Ricky's takedown defense is no good. Aiemann Zahabi's not exactly known for his wrestling. So if he doesn't take Ricky down, he's going to stand with him. Now he needs to catch him and he needs to knock him out. Because if he doesn't knock him out, he's looking to put up 30, 40 significant strikes over 15 minutes. And Ricky's going to put up a buck 10. The volume's eventually going to take over. I see Ricky making a lot of mistakes, all mistakes that Aiemann Zahabi could capitalize on, right? But again, he fights so infrequently, once a year. Sometimes shows up, sometimes doesn't show up. Not a good look. So I can't get behind him. I want the 27-year-old kid who just won his UFC debut and just got handed the Ultimate Fighter crown, who's hungry and really wants this, than the 34-year-old guy that's kind of been protected for the large majority of his career, has skills, but the kind of guy that kick your ass on the street, unassuming, who's this guy? Got legitimate martial arts skills, but taking on a fighter who's got also legitimate martial arts skills, sometimes he's just way too cool with hanging out, guys like Israel Adesanya, people discredit him, right? It's so boring because he's super risk adverse. That's because he's very good. Georges St-Pierre was very good. He's very risk adverse, right? His fights are boring because nothing really happens. Of course, your boy Khabib Nurmagomedov, the last little bit, he was so dominant, he would smoke guys. But prior to that, people said it was boring because he's risk adverse. He just goes through the motions, takes them down. You take the least amount of damage if possible. Aiemann grew up in a gym with the best guys in the world. And TriStar was worth something back then. They had a good team together. And you see all these world-class guys, and then you realize, you see the guys get punchy. You see the guys take too much damage. And Faraz is not a very good coach, but he's a good philosopher. He's got a good understanding of the game. He's got great philosophy. I think that gets instilled in you that it's like, yo, this is the art of hitting and not getting hit. So even if you lose a fight, but you only get hit 30 times and your face is okay and you go home at the end of the night, that's a win. That's a win. That's how they think. So I think that's his mentality. And he fights like that's his mentality. He could catch you coming in like he did Draco Rodriguez. But if he doesn't, he's just going to try to Floyd Mayweather you from the outside. John Jones you from the outside. Israel Adesanya you from the outside. The difference is those guys are all special talents. This guy's not. So I think at some point the work rate from Turcios just takes over and Ricky beats him down the stretch.
Yeah, I was Prize Picks. There's two things I'm just going to add before we move on. Prize Picks, Ricky Turcios significant strikes is set at 80.5, which is relatively high when we were spoiled with some of those other numbers last week. Like, Adesanya 76 in a 5-round fight. Gary, like around the same number. In I don't know, 80.5 seems a little bit high, but that's probably the way to go about it. And two, don't ever mention Aiemann Zahabi and Khabib's name in the same breath, because
no, I said John Jones and I said Izzy and I said a lot of great fighters.
You mentioned Khabib at some point in that
long.
You
think like that, but not perform like that.
In that long diatribe, you named like half of the UFC roster, and Khabib was one of them. You leave Khabib and Aiemann Zahabi. I know the point you were trying to make. I'm just trying to be funny. Maybe I'm not. All right, we got Antonina Shevchenko taking on Courtney Casey. Antonina minus 160 favorite. Courtney Casey can be had for plus 140. Both of these girls can't wrestle. Usually, both get absolutely exploited in the wrestling. Antonina has had some of her best success when she's had a grappling advantage over her opponent. I can't definitively say that she's a better wrestler than Courtney Casey, but I think that it's, you can't say that she's not a better wrestler. Like, you go through both of these girls' records. It's like every single time they take on somebody who can out-wrestle them, they get mauled, right? It's like Antonina versus Casey O'Neill, taken down 3 times. Andrea Lee took her down 3 times. Lipsky, Antonina flips the script. She's able to take her down, gets a second round TKO. It really comes out. Caitlin Chikagian took down Antonina 3 times. Roxanne Modafferi took her down 5 times. But it's like they found the perfect opponent. They're like, if Courtney Casey takes you down, then I'm sorry, Antonina, you don't belong here. I think that they found a winnable fight for Antonina. I think that the line makes sense. Probably relatively competitive on the feet, but I think Antonina's going to have a grappling advantage. Minus 160, Antonina Shevchenko. I don't know if I'm going to get there from a betting perspective. I'm going to watch weigh-ins. Maybe something crazy happens over the course of the week. Probably less so with Courtney Casey, who used to fight at 115 pounds, but yeah, I think Antonina is the player, and I think that she, just putting in time with her sister should make her a better wrestler than Courtney Casey, and that's how she usually loses fights, is her opponents take her down. So Antonina is the pick for me. What about you?
Yeah, I got to go with Antonina as well. Again, women's MMA, so you don't want to be paying anything north of, minus 200, but at minus 165, not a terrible price tag. And again, yeah, Antonina's world-class striking. She's a very solid striker. It's that you can drag her to the ground, and generally the opposition that doesn't want to stand with her, the ones that are going to go there and beat her, take her to the ground, the path of least resistance. But there's no denying, I think we all loaded up pretty heavily on her or against her the last time out against Casey O'Neill, of course, because of the grappling deficiency. But she kicked the crap out of Casey O'Neill in the first round. She looked good. Her striking was sharp. Everything was linear, straight down the pipe. Her wrestling looked pretty decent. She reversed position. She ended up on top, and she actually effectively outstruck Casey O'Neill, 29-9 in the first round. Won in the first round. Now I'm thinking, why do I do this to myself? The takedown bailed us out, baby. It really did. Andrea Lee, same thing. Andrea Lee is a striker. Andrea Lee loses fights because people want to take her down. So Antonina went out there and gave her the fight she wanted. Let's strike. And what does Lee say? No, I don't want to strike with this girl. I'm going to take her down. She's got good striking. She's good in the clinch. She's got good knees to the body. She's not a power puncher per se. Even go back to her Muay Thai fights. Not a big KO ratio, is someone that's generally going to fight you to a distance, but everything's sharp. Everything's good. It's technical. She's got excellent technique, excellent form, and her wrestling is just the kryptonite. And with Casey O'Neill, she shows takedown accuracy of 27% in the UFC. She hasn't taken down somebody in a fair bit of time. She got taken down twice by Lilian Jajua in her last fight. Her wrestling is non-existent. She is a decent enough BJJ brown belt. Her husband, BJJ black belt, someone that's worked a lot on her grappling, but she's more like, Chick Diaz. Like, she likes to stand in front of you and like throw her hands up and like bait you into a battle.
Her husband now is Drakkar Close, isn't it?
Is it? Because I didn't want to say it was Mark, because was it Mark Sanchez was her husband before? Because she used to be Cortney Casey Sanchez.
Yeah, I think they broke up. And
I
think she's married to Drakkar Close.
She's with Drakkar Close, eh? I gotta stay up to date on my MMA. Like,
you're out of the mix, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Well, the who dating who? Because like it's 1 second, it's like, oh man, I thought, who's that scrub? It wasn't a scrub. He was like a gatekeeper guy. He was dating Kayla Harrison.
Yeah,
you know who I'm talking about.
They're
Rocco Martin, right? Anthony Rocco Martin, right? One minute it's like he's dating Kayla Harrison, the next minute he's pissing in a casino, getting arrested for like a domestic. So it's like, what the hell's going on here, man? But I try to focus on the fights themselves. What the fight tells me here is Cortney Casey will just bait her into one of these battles, and Tina Shevchenko will be a little bit faster, a little bit sharper, stay to the outside at pointer. And I think Antonina Shevchenko probably does her research and realizes, I got a slight wrestling advantage over her, and I'm good enough to stay out of harm's way with the submissions on the ground. So strike for the first 2-3 minutes of the round, makes in the takedown, and do enough to secure 2 of the 3 rounds en route to a 29-28 or 30-27. So I will take Shevchenko. The minus 165, not bad, not great, but 100%. You're going to want to go ahead and hit that Shevchenko by decision, because like Cortney Casey's durable, man. She got robbed on a split against JJ Aldrich, close fight. She got caught versus Jillian Robertson. There's 24 seconds left in that fight. 24 seconds left. She knew she was losing, so she was like YOLO and just tried to scramble back up and gave up her neck. That was a bad move, knowing she was going to lose anyways, more than like she had actually got submitted. And then prior to that, she's gone the distance with everybody: Cynthia Calvillo, Angela Hill, Michelle Watterson, Felice Herrig, Jessica Aguilar, Claudia Gadelia. Like, she's super durable. She really is. So if you're going to take Antonina sure as shit ain't going to submit Cortney Casey, and I really don't think she's going to knock her out. Nobody's knocked her out. She stood and brawled with a lot of good punchers and like is showing off a pretty good durability. So I think you're going to want to improve that price tag by taking the Shevchenko by decision.
That makes sense. Yeah, so I don't know if they're married, but it says my emoji of like world at Drakkar Close, #KingClose on her Instagram. And she's got like pictures. Yeah, as of May 9th, there was a picture of the two of them. So they're a happy couple. Just to keep the people who care about those things in the mix here.
Yeah, see, I used to pay attention to what's going on in the world, and Jess Rose Clark, who is relevant, I guess, because she just shit in the bed again last weekend. But Jess Rose Clark's dating the dude from Australia with all the face tats. You remember he got knocked out in that viral video by it wasn't Daniel Nguyen. What was his first
name?
Ben Nguyen. Ben 10 Nguyen. Yeah. Tiger Top Team. Or Tiger Muay Thai, sorry. Yeah. Ben 10 Nguyen absolutely wrecks him in that like huge viral video. And it was like, then he ends up, the dude whose name's Julian Redbow, Jules the Jackal, he ends up going to jail because he assaults Jess Rose Clark because she brought home the wrong noodles. Then he's getting tried in like Australia or New Zealand, bails out, moves to Team Alpha Male, gets knocked out by Cody Garbrandt's cousin, right? This Austin Mees kid who's in at the gym, knocks him out. Then he floats around, and then he starts dating Raquel Pennington. Or sorry, not Raquel Pennington, Ashley Evans Smith. And like at that point, shit went off the rails, and a bunch of people start messaging him, like Felice Herrig and all them being like, yo, this guy's dangerous. Like, don't do it, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, I was like, yo, life is too goddamn short to be paying attention to what the hell these people are up to in their private life. You want to make some money? Let's watch some tape, figure out what's going on. But the rest of it, dude, I'll tell you one thing. When I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, my mom and dad, best people on the planet. And they'd be like, you can do whatever you want. Watch TV, play games, go outside, play with your friends. Whatever you feel makes you happy. Do whatever you want. One catch, 1 hour, every single night, between 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. You got to watch The Young and the Restless. I grew up on that stuff. 15, 16 years. Jack Abbott, Victor Newman, Nick Newman, Nikki Newman, Sharon. Sharon's always bouncing guy to guy. Phyllis, she's completely whack. Brad Carlton, he ends up dying. It was whack. But it also gives you a good realization of just like the soap operas. It happened in real life. And who's dating who? I don't got time for that. My brain's only got enough room for so much, and that falls to the bottom of the list. Also, Young and the Restless, not a bad show.
I was just going to say, rule of thumb for my life is always be wary of people with face tats, because they're willing to make some bad decisions, and that could transfer over to what happens with you. Tresean Gore takes on Cody Brundage. Tresean Gore minus 135 favorite. Brundage can be had for plus 115. I thought Gore was pretty good coming off of the Ultimate Fighter. He really, his the fight against Brian Battle was a big time letdown. He didn't let his hands go. Brundage is coming in on short notice here. I jumped in on Tresean Gore at minus 110. It's the only bet I've got on the card right now. Number is moving. I wouldn't line it much more than like minus 150 to be perfectly honest. So like where the number is moving right now, it's like minus 135 can be had. Some books even already have it at minus 150. I don't know if there's that much value on it. But yeah, just the combination of, Brundage got absolutely mauled by Nick Maximov. Follow that up against Dalka, where he almost got finished. Like, that was a pretty lucky sub for him to pull off in that spot. I just think Tresean Gore is going to have a little bit of a bounce back. I mean, he's 3-1. The guy's super inexperienced. Am I going to be shocked if I lose this bet? I mean, I lost all of my bets last week. So if I lose this one, not going to be entirely shocked. But I'm on Gore, minus 110. But yeah, the line is moving, and I don't... Past minus 150, I don't think I would even stomach it. It wouldn't have been a bet for me. But Gore for me. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's low level. It's another fight that you're just going off a lot of assumptions more than anything. Gore looks like the better athlete. The dude's just raw, a whole lot of power. And yeah, I'll admit, he looked pretty good as an amateur. Picked up a couple decent wins. He beat Tennis Saraceno, who's a decent pro now, and then Robert Hale, who's a pretty decent pro now. So it's like, as an amateur, he was pretty decent. And then, of course, lands on the Ultimate Fighter. He's undefeated, beats Ryder Newman, melted Gilbert Urbina. That was a solid performance from him, and then pulls out due to an injury. So Brian Battle ended up winning the Ultimate Fighter, but everybody was like, dude, Gore kind of looked like the best prospect from that series. So run it back, Gore versus Battle. They did, and he loses. But to like his credit, again, like you said, that was his 4th pro fight, and I think he had 4 amateur fights. Brian Battle, meanwhile, that was his 8th pro fight, and the dude had 9 amateur fights. So like Brian Battle's got way more experience. He's already made his UFC debut. He's won the Tough Crown. His body's not banged up. It's a tough ask for Gore. But like you're saying, he didn't let his hands go at all. In fact, he just allowed Brian Battle to just use long combinations from the outside and just kickbox him from long range and allowed the volume to chip away at him. He also kind of got controlled up against the cage in a lot of situations. Like, he wasn't as physically strong as I thought he was going to be. But he's young, he's immature, and he's got some ways to develop. All of that probably going to be an issue against Cody Brundage, who, again, is strong. He's physical. He wrestled collegiately. He's fought some decent enough guys. I just got this bad feeling that he's going to get clipped. Like, Brundage's chin's not that good. When he fought William Knight in the Contender Series, he got an early takedown. He presses Knight up against the cage. He gets I believe it's like a low ankle pick, takes him up. A little bit of ground and pound. William Knight explodes back up, hits him with a few good shots, and Brundage like froze up. And of course, he ends up getting stopped by TKO like less than I think it was like 2 minutes, 22 seconds or something into the first. Not a great look. The Maximov fight, Maximov doesn't throw punches. Like, his whole game is just wrestle. So Brundage could put his collegiate wrestling to good use in that fight, but he got out wrestled. Close fight, could have gone either way.
Round 3 started to come on, but yeah, he was getting mauled the first 2 rounds. I don't think Gore's not going to do that to him. Don't get me wrong.
It was a bad fight. And then you get the Dolce Lungambulia fight, where it's like, okay, well, Dolce is very one-dimensional, but Dolce was beating him from pillar to post. Some refs would have stopped it. Certainly a terrible ref like Mark Smith would have. Not a good look. He is on skates. He's wobbly. Dolce completely gasses himself out, gets caught in a guillotine choke. So impressive win in that Brundage won. And I think Brundage was like the PRP pick, or like the second from the bottoms. Like, we picked him as a slight underdog in a fight that could have been 50-50. And it was 50-50. He got his absolute ass kicked and then, got a Hail Mary and guillotine choke out of it. So is that a good performance or is that a bad performance? I'm not so sure. One thing I'll admit is that it looked like his chin was okay and that he was getting rocked, but he kept with it, right? He could still see what was coming. He was still trying to intelligently defend himself the entire time. So you want to give him a pass in that regard. On the other hand, like, Gore's big, strong, explosive. He trains with the Lima brothers over in Georgia. He's one of these guys that eventually his skill his experience is going to match up to that skill, and he's going to put some hands on somebody. And I just got a bad feeling that Brundage is not going to just go out there and easily take him down. And if he doesn't take him down, he's probably going to stand in front of him and throw some pitter-patter strikes back, and he's going to get caught with something. So I'm leaning towards Gore. But yeah, I mean, again, this is a minus 135, like you said, trending towards that minus 150 Gore. Do I see him getting the job done? Yeah, but am I super confident in it? No. We're going on what ifs his potential is realized. But if you go back from this, literally his last fight against Bryan Battle, he does not look good.
No.
And he's 4 fights into his pro career. Like, it's not the kind of guy you want to invest money. I say this all the time. People will say, dude, you put Fiziev higher than Rafael. You put Borralho higher. You put Nurmagomedov. Like, those guys are way higher. Like, don't you like someone like Gore? It's like Gore might have the stylistical clash, but what do you know about Gore? If I told you, does this guy got a good chin? It'd be like, I don't know. It'd be like, does this guy got good cardio? I don't know. Is this guy a good striker? Jeez, I don't know. Right. Is there anything about this getting heart for days? Does he have some like X factor? Is he going to go out there and be like, dude, I am willing to go out there on my shield? Because that counts for something. That Armen Petrosyan guy, part of the reason bet him against Robocop, like, dude was willing to die in there. And you know what happened in the fight itself? Dude was willing to die in there. He got his face shattered. His nose is broken. There's blood everywhere. Dude's on his back with a rear naked choke locked in, and he fights his way through it. Those are the guys you can get behind. A Josh Emmett, right? A Josh Emmett, he's big plus money. I didn't bet it. I took Calvin Cater. God damn it. Josh Emmett, the guy's going to go out for you, His face is wrecked, but it's like he's in it to win it. You can back on those guys. Gore, like, he's 4 fights into his pro career coming off a loss to Bryan Battle. It's a lot of what ifs if I want to confidently back him. And on the flip side to that, I got Cody Brundage, a little more seasoned. Wrestling's okay. I would say his cardio is probably a little bit better. The way that Gore was so easily handled in the clinch against Bryan Battle, I would say Brundage could have a lot of success there too. He's got a bad gut feeling deep down that Brundage is going to get clipped and get KO'd. So I think I'm leaning towards Gore, but if I needed a dog play, Brundage wouldn't be the worst, I don't think. Plus 115, just not enough.
I mean, I'm not offering you a shoey in that type of situation.
No,
if you want Brundage, I
wouldn't want one either, to be honest with you. It's just low level stuff.
The money I have invested, I've got CLV on it, but honestly, it's moving to minus 150. It's just that 8% edge from minus 110 to minus. I capped it at minus 150, basically. I'm like, it seems like 60-40. I would lean towards Gore just because Brundage is coming in on short notice. And I thought Gore was pretty good coming off of Ultimate Fighter, and he just didn't show himself in that fight against Bryan Battle. That's really where it came down to, but we'll find out on Saturday night. Next up, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Karl Roberson, minus 140 Nzechukwu, plus 120 Roberson. What's your take here, bud?
Yeah, so again, I think a lot of the reason why people don't like this card is not from an entertainment standpoint, because this is going to be a fun card from an entertainment standpoint. Is that who do these guys do you trust? Who in this card is it that's a guy that I can get behind? Not a whole lot. This is another fight where it's just much of the same. It's just oh man, I've got Kennedy Nzechukwu on one hand. He's 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. Dude's an absolute specimen. If he was able to figure out how to put those skills to good use and use them properly, he'd be an absolute unit. Mm-hmm. And, he'd
9-inch
a lot
reach
of guys.
Advantage in this spot.
Yeah, and he always got a huge reach advantage. And
but he doesn't really have a jab to fight behind, which if you have that reach, you should be using, I would think.
He doesn't have much. He was always a work in progress on the Contender Series. He wins his first fight against Anton Berezin. They don't sign him. Comes back and he beats Dennis Bryant. They sign him. He fights Paul Craig. I thought he won the first 2 rounds, if we're being honest. And then he gets caught in triangle choke. Of course, by Paul Craig with 40 seconds left in the fight. So it was a slip up, mental lapse in a fight that he was otherwise winning. Didn't look terrible. The loss aged quite good because Paul Craig's the man and, triangle choke is specifically his weapon. So it's there's something that can be worked on here, right? Beats Darko Stosic, but taken down 4 times. Not a great fight. He looked at Carlos Ulberg, but got wrecked in the first round before Ulberg gassed out. Not a great fight. The Danilo Marquez fight, Danilo Marquez is an absolute putz. Not much happened for the first early going, and then he puts him away in the third. He's winning. He's getting more comfortable. It just doesn't seem like he's actually improving. I don't know what the deal is, but just doesn't really like feel comfortable in there. So against Da Jung, he's never been knocked out before. He's got a good chin. Da Jung's largely a striker. This is a good coming out party for Kennedy, and he got clipped. He got clipped early. He looked bad, elbow over the top, kind of put him on skates. He never recovered from there, and then got knocked out by Da Jung. The next fight against Nikolai Negumereanu, I loaded up on Kennedy for the simple fact that, he was 3-1 in his last 4, had a 3-fight losing streak just snapped. Darko's fights as heavyweight now. Ulberg has won his last 2 fights in the UFC and looked tremendous his last time out. Izzy's buddy. Daniil Marquez is a bum, but he's got a way of beating guys, and at least Kennedy was able to beat him.
Well, he was able to beat him because Marquez tired himself out from riding his back. Riding the backpack for 2 rounds. I was on Danilo Marquez there by submission. So it was like 2 rounds of me watching him. And I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna. And then as soon as they got into round 3, it was just like he was just completely spent, just got iced. It was really painful. Really painful to watch.
Yeah, it was painful stuff, man. And then you got, of course, the Nikolai Negumereanu fight, which is just weird for many ways. But again, the first 2 rounds are like ultra competitive. Like he's getting outstruck in times. And then the 3rd round, he wrecked Negumereanu, but he also lost a point due to an eye poke. When you have a 9-inch reach advantage, you tend to go hands open a lot. And so he paused with his fingers open a lot. He did get the eye poke. This is a super sloppy fight. The thing is it still should have been a Kennedy and Nzechukwu fight. He won all 3 rounds. Not only that, with the point deduction, it's a worst case scenario. It's a draw, right? Maybe he lost one of the first 2, but he owned the 3rd round. That one's the draw round because of the point deduction. So I don't know. The fact that it got scored the way it did is kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. To be honest, I lost a lot of money on that spot, and I thought we won, but I also realized then and there, this dude is dead to me. Like the first 2 rounds, he's just pitter-pattering away. He's got no killer instinct. For a guy that's that big, he's got no real devastating power punching abilities. He waits way too long to get going. I mean, he's lucky Ulberg gassed and he took over. He's lucky that, Darko gassed. He's lucky that Daniil Marquez gassed. But when Nick Negumereanu gassed and he couldn't put him away, he found himself down around, or I guess the point deduction really did hurt him, but all the same, there's just not enough substance there. And he's still young. He's still improving. He's only 30 years old. He trains at a good gym in Fortis MMA. He's got excellent training partners around him. It's just like his ability to cause it to click just isn't there. Losing to Negumereanu, again, I would find it hard to go back to this guy and bet him with any type of confidence. Now, the problem with Karl Roberson is very much of the same. He's super talented. Here's a guy that fought, I believe it was Jerome LeBanner, back in the day, like as a pro kickboxer. His striking is good. He's got a lot of good stuff going for him. And then he just makes these terrible decisions in there. Like, he was beating up Glover Texeira quite decent. Actually had him in some bad spots. But the Wellington Turman fight, right? Wellington Turman's a one-dimensional grappler, and yet he engages him in these grappling exchanges, trying to prove a point, I guess. He tries to make those same points in some other fights, like, he gets choked out by Marvin Vettori. Then you remember the Brandon Allen fight? He falls back on a heel hook, and Brandon Allen grabs a heel hook and just heel hooks him. What are you thinking? What are you possibly thinking?
You're a glory kickboxer, bro. Like,
I'm fighting Brandon Allen, and I'm going to go in there and fall back on a leg lock. Like, so his grappling, is wrestling, work in progress, striking not bad, but like his ring IQ is just non-existent. And then he gets Khalil Roundtree, and it's like, well, this will be kickboxer versus kickboxer. The thing with Roundtree, and again, we can talk about him at another time, next time he fights, is like he's one of these guys that either shows up fat and out of shape and depressed on his couch eating potato chips, not that good, or dude shows up motivated. What's his name now? Bangkok Reddy. That dude shows up, you got some problems on your hands, because Khalil Roundtree is a monster of a man. He just deals with like confidence issues at times. Well, unfortunately for Karl Roberson, he ran into a Khalil Roundtree that was like highly motivated and frothing at the mouth. So not a good night for him, but I can't take away from him. Khalil Roundtree, Brandon Allen, Marvin Vettori, those are all guys that I would consider, high level competition. Kennedy and Nzechukwu, how does this fight stays out? Okay, well, the big reach advantage would be for Kennedy, but at the same time, Karl Roberson's much better striker. I mean, he's got better kickboxing. He's a better counter puncher. He's a little sharper. He's going to have the leg kicks there for him. The wrestling hasn't been there for him in terms of you don't want to be taking down Brandon Allen. You don't want to be grappling out with, high-end guys in the division. But against Kennedy and Nzechukwu, you probably could get away with, wrestling a little bit, using your combinations, using your striking, using your wrestling. Down the stretch, advantage probably Kennedy. Durability, I would say probably Kennedy. But that being said, Kennedy getting knocked out by Dong Jung, I don't know that his chin's all that good. No. Alberg had a massively rocked. Like, it's possible you can get to the money here.
He's very hittable against
Karl
Alberg.
Roberson, say it again?
He was very hittable against Alberg.
Super hittable, especially in that early going until Alberg gassed himself out. And then, of course, the Dong Jung fight. And then again, the Nick Mariano fight, the first 2 rounds are like competitive. Like this Romanian dude has been in Vegas for like 6 weeks, and he's learned entirely how to throw punches in the last 6 weeks that he's been in Las Vegas. He could not strike. His striking is no good. And yet he overcomes like a 7-inch reach advantage to punch Kennedy in the face, 60 times through 10 minutes. Like, what is going on here? Not good. Not good. So I would say if Karl Roberson's going to be able to get to the money, I think he's a little more refined. I need his durability to stand out, to hold up a little bit. And then you mix in a couple takedowns if can be. But yeah, again, you got to take a couple underdogs here and there. Plus 120, I'll take Karl Roberson. But the confidence level, as you can probably tell, not like it's like super high or anything.
I'll take Kennedy and Nzechukwu as my pick. Will not be betting that whatsoever. I think over 47.5 significant strikes for him is very low, though. I know Roberson in a lot of his fights gets iced very early from terrible decisions that he makes. 47.5 seems like a pretty easy number for Kennedy to clear. So he's on my Prize Picks card. What up, Pat?
Well, you guys were talking through it. I was looking at the Prize Picks, and I actually looked at the other two. The way that you guys were talking about it, it does seem like the over of 1.5 rounds in this fight is almost minus 200 now. So the overtime on Prize Picks is 10 minutes. So does this go to the 3rd round? I mean, sounds like it. And Karl Roberson, or whatever the hell this guy's name is, he doesn't have a takedown in his last 5 fights.
Yeah.
Under 1.5. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I know. That's actually the Roberson takedowns. The last time he got to that number was against Jack Marshman, who is like arguably the worst wrestler in the UFC's middleweight history. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Roberson's takedown, but and Roberson's supposed to be like a glory kickboxer. It's a weird spot because I could definitely see Roberson mixing in some takedowns, as Cody was alluding to. I just don't know if he's gonna consistently do it. I went with the Kennedy and Nzechukwu. I don't mind that takedowns angle as well, though. I definitely wouldn't take Roberson over 2, because you need 2 takedowns. Like, he hasn't done that since Marshman, as I was saying. I think Kennedy on Prize Picks, 47.5 significant strikes. Like, he could get there in a round and a half and still lose the fight.
It seems just like submission is like the real way to get him out of there. But you're right. He did get knocked out his last fight against Khalil Roundtree, a big boy. Nzechukwu, also a big boy. But here's how of an unforgiving sport MMA is. You got Karl Roberson was this close to knocking out Glover Teixeira. This close. He's got him done with those elbows. And then Glover falls on top of him, and he gets submitted. Fight hits the ground, not so good. But the UFC's done a tremendous job here of taking 2 guys with questionable ring IQ, questionable decision-making skills, limited ground games, limited wrestling, and paired them up against each other. So to Pat's point, the under 1.5 from the takedowns for Roberson actually does look quite good. To Paul's point, the over, was it 60 that they set it at?
47.5.
This is going to be a kickboxing match for the better part of 10 minutes. So,
and he's got a 9-inch reach advantage. That seems a little bit off. And to answer Pat's final question, I don't think that's actually a great one. The 10 minutes, it's because I'm looking at a book out there that has fight starts round 3, and that's lined at minus 125. So yeah, so they've priced that one pretty good, I would say. But I think, you could have 2, as I said, 1.5 rounds, and Kennedy could still get over that number. And I think it's really tough to trust Karl Roberson to get over 2 takedowns. So my personal pick that's on my card is over 47.5 significant strikes. I told Pat at the beginning of this program that this would be a very short show, and I lied. Because coming up next, we've got Ronnie Lawrence, Cody's boy, taking on Saidyokub Kakramanov, minus 140 Lawrence, plus 120 Kakramanov. Ronnie Lawrence, absolutely just brilliant to watch. Love his wrestling, love his tenacity, love his pace. It's so beautiful. I was victory lapping so hard after round 2 against Mana Martinez. Oh my God, can't believe they gave me this price. Oh my God, this is such easy money. And then Mana Martinez nearly deaded the guy. It was My butt was fully puckered, Cody. I think Saidyokub Kakramanov is a legitimate fighter. Very, very good, talented, all-around skill set. First time I was ever introduced to him was like his fight against Umar many years ago, and he held his own quite well against cousin Umar. I thought that was pretty impressive. My worry with your boy Ronnie Lawrence is I'm not after that. I know Mana Martinez hits hard, but like after that, I'm not very trusting of him, Cody. Right now, my thought is it seems like the line keeps moving towards Ronnie Lawrence. Late in the week, I'm going to scoop up Kakramanov. Tell me where your thoughts are on this one, though.
Yeah, Ronnie Lawrence is my boy. I got to go with Ronnie one more time around. I mean, the guy is just super talented, and then he's gone full-time at American Top Team, and I think that's when you're seeing the improvements really come out of his game. He wasn't really known for his wrestling all that much, more of a striker, good footwork, dynamic on the outside, speedy, decent output. But the wrestling is something he's really a wrinkle that he's added to his game in the last, couple of fights, and it's really taken over as like his dominant martial art. He's got a win over Garrett Armfield, who I guess we'll talk about because he's popping in as a short-nosed replacement against David Onana later on. The Jose Johnson fight, dude, we cashed in. He was plus 260 as an underdog against Jose Johnson in the Contender Series. I was like, this Ronnie Lawrence kid's legit. I remember you messaged me. I was like, Lawrence is the underdog of the card. Put the tweet out. Lawrence goes out and just phenomenal. Wrestling's on point. Chain wrestling. Aggressive. Cardio's good. Tenacious, on like a dog on a bone, on him, gets the victory. Vince Cachero, much of the same. Ronnie Lawrence all of a sudden wants to wrestle, and he wrestles quite well. Goes in the Cachero fight, takes him down 8 times, gets a 3rd round TKO. Never let up from buzzer to buzzer. Never let up. Drowns him eventually. The Mana Martinez fight looks awesome for the first 2 rounds, and then you're 100% right. He gets clipped bad. He ends up getting dropped twice in the 3rd. He's in survival mode. He's dancing. He's trying to stay out of there. Maybe that's not the greatest performance for him, but a couple things. One, Ronnie Lawrence hasn't really had much adversity in the last little bit. So he got caught being cute. He won the first 2 rounds. He was comfortable. He took his foot off the gas. He got clipped. The other thing is that Mana Martinez doesn't have like the prettiest looking record. But this dude's a beast, man. His wins are 32-second knockout, 1 minute knockout, 52-second knockout, 2:59 of the first round, 24 seconds of the first round, 2:25 of the first round, 2 minutes of the second round, 52 seconds of the second round. As an amateur, 5-1. Those 5 wins, you ask. Minute 21 of the first round, 56 seconds of the first round, 2:49 of the first round, 30 seconds of the first round, and 12 seconds of the first round. This Mana Martinez guy hits hard. So I want to give Ronnie a pass. He was doing the right things. Unfortunately, he went out and he got clipped. When he got clipped, he didn't roll over. He didn't shell up. No, he didn't quit.
He fought for your money.
He got down and pulled out his lunchbox and said, okay, it's time to do this damn thing. He danced for us, right? And so that's something that I'll always appreciate, guys. And especially with someone who's 30 years old, he's on a long winning streak. He's never been finished his entire career. Only 1 losses to a UFC veteran, Steve Garcia, in a Bellator fight 6 years ago. He's at American Top Team now. You could show me the skills, but you got to show me the heart once in a while. He showed me a little bit of heart there, right? With Saidyokub Kakramanov, complete beast as well. I know you'll remember this fight. He fought Umar Nurmagomedov for PFL in 2018, and this kid looked good, man. He gave Umar Nurmagomedov all types of trouble, and of course, you driving, not riding, driving the Umar Nurmagomedov bandwagon. So, like, you know how talented he is. Kakramanov gave a legitimate account of himself in that fight. Did get cut against Pipe Vargas. It's a fight he's not doing terrible in. 3rd round flying knee, and since then he's been solid. Here's my issue, is that you go back and you watch that Trevin Jones fight, which he does come on a short notice, but he gets controlled in the clinch quite often by Trevin Jones, first and foremost. He also does give up a takedown to Trevin Jones, which I think is who's just far less of a takedown threat than a guy like Ronnie Lawrence. And then on top of that is that his volume seems to be super low. Like, it's just the one fight, but 36 significant strikes landed over nearly the course of 15 full minutes. It ended up being, I think, it was 21 seconds away from going the distance when he caught him, right? So his striking looked low output. His wrestling defense looked okay. Physically in the clinch, it didn't look like he was super strong. And so none of that bodes well for a fight against Ronnie Lawrence, who figures to probably shoot somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 takedowns. He's going to be continuously trying to grind on you. He probably does get some of them to the ground. As far as being in the clinch go, I think he's a little bit stronger than Kakramanov in the clinch, and he'll have success. As far as kickboxing at range goes, he's got way more volume. He throws in combinations. Kakramanov is more of a one-and-done kind of guy. So he was taking that last fight against Trevin Jones on short notice. So unless he's going to come to the table with a lot more in his bag of tricks, like I just don't know that he gets it done. So
it's too bad
that go with Ronnie Lawrence.
It's too bad that fight against Kelleher didn't happen. We'd have a lot more. We just have a lot more answers about Kakramanov. Probably won't get there.
And it's not as if he got hurt. He had COVID. So it's like, he's probably fine. And this kid's probably a stud. He's young too, right? He's 26 years old. Like chances are he's going to come in as a much better version. But
for sure,
you go back and look at 26-year-old Ronnie Lawrence, talented, still prone to make a few mistakes. His last loss, 2016, when he was, young guy.
We got decision loss against Steve.
I know. Trust me, not a great look. Steve Garcia has some okay wins in the bag, but not all that good. What I'm getting at, though, is that, like, for the difference between 26 to 30, those have been the best years for Ronnie Lawrence. All of his biggest wins, right? Trained down American top team, getting the opportunities. That's his real development. Kakramanov, very bright future. Very, very bright future. I think at this very moment, it's a little bit much of an ask. And I know you and I complain about this every week, but I feel the need to say it one more time. Why is this buried on the prelims?
Oh man,
this is a really good fight.
In one of my group chats, I was saying that this is like, skill for skill. This is one of the best fights on the card. Like, I mean, Douglas Silva did Andrade versus Saeed. Like, maybe you can bump them ahead because, Douglas Silva de Andrade has held a job in this promotion for so long. But honestly,
Calvillo, Nina Nunes,
honestly,
and Jared Vanderaa, Sherman.
Outside of Saeed versus Douglas, like I'm not, Caio versus Armen Petrosyan, it doesn't really make sense being the co-main event as far as I'm concerned. But they hate those little guys. I do have Ronnie Lawrence over 3.5 takedowns on my Prize Picks flex play here. So that's the 5. So I got Kennedy Nzechukwu over 47.5 significant strikes. Ronnie Lawrence over 3.5 takedowns. Jared Vanderaa over 51.5 significant strikes. Caio Borralho over 1.5 takedowns. RDA over 2.5 takedowns. Obviously, that's a 5-round fight. Overgang for here, $100 pays $1,000. Use promo code DOP if you want to tail or fade. But fade at your own peril because it's the only thing I did right last week. And finally, we've got David Onama taking on Garrett Armfield. Fight was just added to the card this afternoon. There is one book that has a price out on it right now. Let me just refresh the old page.
Minus 700.
Minus 700 plus 450. It opened up at minus 500. Apparently, these guys had already fought way back when. Onama's been a guy that I've really liked. I've backed him in both of his fights so far, but minus 700, even if this guy's coming, the guy he's taking on is coming in on short notice. Like, that's just a absurd price tag for someone who's so, new in their career like David Onama. When did these guys fight?
It was an amateur fight. It's his last amateur fight.
Yeah. Okay. So 2018, which isn't that long ago, but they fought on the as amateurs on the Kansas City regional scene. Do you have any hot takes on Garrett Armfield here? Their code.
No. Well, honestly, the fight just got announced, I think yesterday, so I hadn't really looked at it. Garrett Armfield, the only thing I'm familiar with him is he fought a guy I know personally. Okay, well, he fought Ronnie Lawrence. He lost the decision to Ronnie Lawrence at LFA 67. You can see that his grappling is definitely a work in progress. And then he fought Matteo Vogel, who's from Ottawa, Ontario. So I had watched that one at CFFC 95. And again, I don't think he's UFC quality currently right now. Someone that could build into that, but just, he's kind of a step behind. He's only, at the time then, he would have been... It's 2021. It's last year. He's 24 years old. He fights a lot, man. He turned pro in 2018. He's been pro for 4 years, and this is his 10th fight. That's not too many, I guess, but it's, in the last couple, 2021, he fought twice. 2021, he fought 3 times. 2022, this is his second fight of the year. So he's staying active, but you can just see he's very green. He's learning on the job. Matteo Vogel ends up submitting him in the second round. Again, this kid will probably make it to the show eventually, but a work in progress. And then he moves out to Kill Cliff FC, which I'm sure wasn't called that at the time, but it's called that now. And so I don't know. I'm sure he's trying to take his game to the next level. I did watch his last fight against Stephen Graham, but it's only 31 seconds. He's able to just catch him pretty early and put him away. So, what is he bringing to the table? Well, the thing with David Onama is he just brings all types of weapons. I mean, his footwork is just awesome. His mobility is very, very solid. Of course, as an amateur, the kid went 10-0 as an amateur, including beating Garrett Armfield by unanimous decision.
Yeah,
fair.
Very long.
Turns pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say David Onama was really, really long. I bet him as a big underdog against Mason Jones. He made that fight interesting. And then we had a really playable price. I think he was like minus 150 against Gabriel Mogli Benitez. And he came through for us. I think he's really, really good and only making improvements. So I legit know nothing about this Armfield kid.
Well, Armfield is just, again, he's limited. I think he's going to come at him. He's probably more of a striker. I just don't think he's going to be able to line him up. And again, with David Onama, it's like he's fought in good competition. He's very dynamic. When he fought Mason Jones, I thought you were nuts, man, taking David Onama.
He was like plus 500. It was absurd.
Yeah,
I watched his regional tape, and I'm like, this guy looks like he could end up being good. That's really all it was.
Right? He's 10-0 as an amateur, and he was 7-0 as a pro at that point. So he's rocking a 17-fight winning streak coming into his UFC debut. But I think you're nuts, dude. I really do. He outstruck Mason Jones in 2 of the 3 rounds. He outstruck him in the fight total. He gave up 8 takedowns. Damn, he was good at getting back up. This guy's wily, explosive. 3rd round, I'm like, okay, no way this kid on making his debut on short notice, young, is going to be able to keep up with his pace. Mason Jones is going to finally take him over in the 3rd round. Kid kept with it the entire time. It looked like he's going to be decent. Decent enough that everybody says, let's hit him with that flyer over Gabriel Benitez. A solid veteran of the sport, but perhaps getting a little bit long in the tooth. And Onama just buzzsawed right through him. He's very hard to put hands on. He moves well from the outside. Takedown defense, definitely a work in progress, but Garrett Armfield's not going to take him down. Garrett Armfield's already fought this man, wasn't able to track him. This will be much of the same. When the UFC calls you and they say, do you want to make your UFC debut? You'll fight anybody. You went the distance with this kid. But the main thing is I'm going to sign a contract, which is going to be a 4-fight deal. I'll fight him again. Win or lose, I'll probably get my other 3 fights. That's why you do it. He's 25 years old. No doubt Garrett Armfield's willing to sign on the dotted line. But that doesn't necessarily make him ready for it. You got David Onama was going to take on Austin Lingo. Fun fight, but he would have chewed up Lingo. It was a good spot for him. UFC knows what they're doing. This kid's got a bright future. Instead, you're just going to run back a quick little rematch against Armfield because he's out of Kill Cliff FC, and they've got a whole roster of guys that we use. So we're willing to toss the guy a bone and sign him to the promotion. But Onama chooses him up. Here's the problem. Everything I just told you, bookie knows it. You know it. In my 700, you said, like, that's a bad line, dude. I'm sure we missed it, but it was a soft opener. They probably give you a soft opener. A couple people hit it.
Minus 500 was the opener.
Yeah, and it steamed 200 points overnight, right? So it was probably a soft opener
they
on the
were
minus 500.
Disrespecting Dave. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you're disrespecting Garrett Armfield at minus 700 because it is a fist fight at the end of the day, but we've seen his limitations, and the fact that he's not an adequate enough grappler to take Onama down, he's going to be forced to stand with him. He tried that once already. Didn't work out for him. This will be much of the same. Can he last another decision? We don't have that prop, eh? It's probably not out, I bet.
No, there's no props out for this yet.
There's no prop out yet. This is the one thing that I would say maybe keep an eye on. Like, I understand the kid's taking it on short notice is Garrett Armfield, but if you're David Onama, you got a spectacular track record of first-round finishes, right? You beat Gabriel Benitez with the first-round knockout. Your fights prior to that, right before he came to the UFC, 2 minutes, 12 seconds of the first round, 44 seconds of the first round, 3:48 of the first round, 3:01 of the first round. In fact, he's finished everything. As a professional, he has finished all 9 of his wins have been inside the distance. Only 1 of them was made to the 3rd, 1 of them made to the 2nd, 7 of them inside of the first round. 6 of them inside of the first round, 2 in the 2nd. This dude's a finishing machine. But Garrett Armfield did actually fight him to a decision as an amateur. Garrett Armfield also has never been knocked out. So maybe he just takes the beaten standing. And if he does take the beaten standing, you probably get a good price tag, I bet you, on Onama by decision, just because it's never actually happened as a pro, right?
Well, the
bookie might get caught slipping on that one, and you might be able to take advantage.
People are jamming money at the under. So there is actually, there's an over/under 2.5 rounds that opened up at plus 120. It's already at plus 150. So people are jamming the under because they don't know. I mean, they see David Onama won in the first round last time out against Gabriel Mogli Benitez. They have no idea. I mean, people aren't taping Garrett Armfield that fast. They're just jamming it, hoping that it's right. So if you like that over, that could be a real spicy proposition. Breaking news, Cody. We mentioned him on the show. Max Roshkov signs with Bellator.
Good move.
All the belts. All the belts to Max. I don't know.
Max not getting no belts, but he's better than the quitter reputation that he has for sure. You know what? People always praise, oh man, high ring IQ. This guy had high enough ring IQ to realize sitting on his corner, I'm going to get my ass kicked if I go back out there. Might as well just go home right now. People call it the coward's way out. But you remember how that fight was going. What good would fighting the third round? So people could say, damn, dude, that guy's brave. He's got heart. It's like he's 24. Give him a break.
I'm just pulling up the Bellator's
big game.
Bellator lightweight rankings. Where are these? Let's see. Oh, yeah, these guys are dead. Patricio Pitbull, he's 145er. No chance.
Yeah, you know what? It's a weak-ass division because you got... Isn't Patricky's the champion at 155?
Patricky.
Yeah, and
then Sydney Outlaw.
No Peter
Benson Henderson's
like
washed.
A 2-time title challenger.
I mean, Usman Nurmagomedov, that's going to be a problem. You're not
Usman probably takes
Roskov's game's not going to work against somebody with the last name Nurmagomedov. So that could be tricky. But Max is back, baby. Let's go. Just excited.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I think we talked for about 2 hours here, so I think probably good time to wrap it up. I'm only on Tresean Gore. I got him at minus 110. I wouldn't go over minus 150. Yeah. As the week goes on, as weigh-ins happen, obviously on Saturday I'll post my as I kind of dig through some props and all of that, but on Saturday, as always, I will post my entire card. I think it's going to be a pretty light card this week because I'm not entirely confident on too many things. Obviously, prize picks, I already went, go back a minute or so. I had, or probably 5 minutes or so. I gave all of my prize picks. Go
to 140.46 of this show.
140.46 of this show. And you'll have the 5 picks that I had. Use promo code DOP when you sign up for a match bonus up to $100. Cody, hit him with the PRP.
All right, hit him with the PRP. We're going to go with Rafael Fiziev. We're going to go with Caio Borralho, Nurmagomedov, Jared Vanderaa. Don't really love that one. Jamie Mullarkey, Nina Nunes, dog number 1, Ricky Turcios, Antonina Shevchenko, Tresean Gore, Karl Roberson, dog number 2. Karl Roberson, for the record, he's at Glory MMA and Fitness with James Krause now. So if anybody's going to help a guy with terrible ring IQ, hopefully James Krause. That'll be dog number 2. We're going to go with Ronnie Lawrence and David Onama. So it's a 12-fight card. We're rocking with 2 underdogs. That doesn't seem like enough. This could be a very greasy card, maybe the kind of one you want to stay away from. But that being said, last week's card looked super greasy as well. Like, what was the second line? The second line was Ian Gary and Sean O'Malley. Like, really? Because you had to. What else did you like on the card, right? Lawler was the apple pie shitter. He blew the top 4 tickets, or he blew, 3 and 4 ticket. 1 and 2 got to buy it. But it's the same thing. It's like sometimes you got to take a little bit of risk there. In this case, it's like 2 underdogs. They're both greasy. You made excellent points with a couple of these other ones. Michael Johnson would be considered a live underdog. Chase Sherman could be considered a live underdog. Saeed Kakramanov, I suppose. I do really like Ronnie Lawrence. Anyways, wait till weigh-ins. You'll get your final little bit of information. But for the time being, those are the guys that I am going to go with. And maybe this is a card that you attack on a props perspective. So if that's the case, I will be doing a prop show tomorrow. But you don't feel the need to give back all your bankroll from last week to this card because it is greasy. I think we can all admit that. No risk, no reward, right? Sometimes we shine on these cards.
A lot of these lower end cards too, I feel like weigh-ins matter more because you have like people who don't have like nutritionists and so on and so forth. They can't afford them at this stage in their career. Cynthia Calvillo, she's a massive, massive red flag when it comes into weigh-ins. Like, she's looked like she was about to die multiple times on the scale. Like, I think watching the weigh-ins this week is going to be pretty important for me, figuring out, where to go with my money. So, yeah, only Gore so far, but I'll end up with more. And, yeah, last week, I thought the card looked pretty dicey, but it always happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you, too, where it's just like I get over-invested because it's a pay-per-view. I don't, because there's a little bit of hype in the air and just, money starts getting splashed around this way and that. Got to be a little bit more. I didn't need to have like 7-8 plays last week. 4 or 5 would have sufficed for how I play my game. Pat.
I got the prize picks.
Prize picks Pat.
Prize picks Pat coming at you.
Let's go.
So I know nothing about MMA. I listen to you guys. That's how I know things. So I've been listening to these fights. So what I think I'm going to do is we hit the 5-1 on the 3-pick power play last week. So that's going to be the standard, I think. Not necessarily winning every week, but trying to get that 5-1 on the 3 play. So these are the 3 that I went with. It's already in. You can't talk me off of it.
I'm gonna tail you. So let's hear it.
Roberson under 1.5 takedowns.
All right.
Cynthia Calvillo under 60.5 significant strikes. And your boy Jared Vanderaa over 51.5 significant strikes. $100 pays $500.
Pretty good.
I'm gonna put 50 on it.
Okay. Well,
it's yours.
Or I did play actually 2. I played that one and I did the 5-play flex play. So if you get all 5 right, it's 10-1. You get 4 out of the 5 right, it's 2-1. Like you said, if 3 of the 5 hit, I get $40 back. Whatever. Not looking to get the
so
$40
it's a power
back.
play.
This is a.
The first one was a power play.
Yeah, the first one's a power play. You got to hit all 3. So
yeah.
It's the same 3 ones on there, but Ronnie Lawrence over 3.5 takedowns, and Cody's boy Turcios over 80.5 significant strikes.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think Turcios over. The only question is whether like Zahabi has when he catches people.
I may have misheard what Cody said, but I think he said this guy lost to Robin Black, so I just went with that.
Yeah, that's basically what
what happened.
If you go through MMA math, Robin has defeated a guy that Aiemann has also defeated. Therefore, Robin basically kicked the shit out of Aiemann Zahabi. Is that the kind of money you want to put on a guy?
No.
Shout out to my boy Robin, good guy. Aiemann, not so much a good guy. Anyways, that's for a different story for a different day. Hopefully Robbie Lawler doesn't shit in the apple pie, because that was the one that hurt last week. Like, not only just he was on the parlays, but yeah, I went with some greasy tickets too. And like I had Macy Barber by decision plus 145, Machado by decision plus 200, Jim Miller inside the distance, Sean O'Malley by decision, which I ended up getting a push on, and then I had Robbie by decision and Volkanovski by decision. $250 paid like 20 grand. And so I would have got the push on Sean O'Malley. Robbie blew it. So sometimes, like you're saying, it's a pay-per-view. So why did I have 6 people on that ticket? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Bodog caps off your props parlays at 6. So I jammed it to 6. Why did I do that? Why didn't I make it a 5 or a 4? Pay less money. Pay-per-view. Got the energies rolling. This is a fight night. It's the burnout effect that you got the hangover after the pay-per-view. You get this card. This is a fun card. This is an exciting card. Low level, chocked full of.
That's why
I like to shit in people's apple
dicey
pies.
when you start going like 10 out of 12 underdogs or 10 out of 12 favorites. Could be a dicey proposition.
Yeah, it's like Kenny Nzechukwu, pie shitter. Roberson, pie shitter, right?
Gore could be a pie shitter.
Gore could be a pie shitter. Shevchenko and Cortney Casey, neither can wrestle. Both have been pie shitters. Aiemann Zahabi never throws anything, and yet could still potentially actually beat Ricky Turcios. Nunes versus Calvillo, who knows if either of them want to be in there. Mm-hmm. Red flags everywhere. Did I say red flags? I actually said Michael Johnson. Same thing. Red flag city. Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman. Like, what is going on here? And then even kicking it off with like Rafael Fiziev had a greasy fight with Bobby Green, and I don't know. There's just a lot of like. I mean,
it took 2
is
hours.
This the guy that's gonna take me to the land of milk and honey? Like, I don't know, but I want to go so bad. So take chances. You probably should.
It took 2 hours for us to get through it, but we finally showed a little bit of honesty by saying how much of a red flag most of this card is. It should be entertaining.
Definitely.
Hopefully it's profitable, and we'll get back up on the right track. But that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Prize Picks Pat and Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.